Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Enjoy the fanfic, and let's begin part 7. Everyone was soundly sleeping in their separate rooms, fully enjoying their individual dreams, though all seemed to revolve around Konoha burning for some odd reason. It was still early in the morning as the entire house was quiet. Nothing could disturb their peace at that moment. Ah! Someone yelled as the entire village nearly woke up from the noise. Everyone in the Namikaze compound woke up fast as their ears winced from the pain of the scream. Kushina walked out of her room with her hands covering her ears as everyone else appeared in the room. Who the hell was that? Kin asked everyone. Everyone shrugged their shoulders that they didn't know, but turned to see Shizune with a smile on her face while her eyes were closed. I take it the pink bitch found her mother, Shizune said as everyone realized it. Everyone gave their own innocent smiles as they heard more various screams ring throughout Konoha. Shizune and the others sighed as they heard a knock on their door. Shizune came to the door and opened it to see an Anbu with a cat mask and purple hair approach them. Sorry to intrude, but all shinobi are to report to the Hokage's meeting room right now, she said to them. Everyone in the room sighed with a nod as they all got their clothes on. Minato hanged his appearance as everyone left the compound. Everyone jumped along the rooftops as they saw people drag out the bodies of the once whole-pieced council members of Konoha. Everyone seemed to smirk as they remembered their night. Shizune had on a deeper smirk as she saw Sakura looking at her dead mother. The whole family ignored the constant cries that rang through the village along with the look of shock on people's faces as they came inside the Hokage mansion. Hokage mansion. Sarutobi breathed on his pipe with a heavy sigh as he learned of the events that transpired. Nearly every shinobi who was there minus Naruto, Anko and Jiraiya. Sarutobi stood up and glanced at everyone in the room before speaking. Everyone, I have grave news for everyone. Upon last night's events, every single council member has been murdered except the prisoner Danzo. No one knows how these events happened, but our village is in a state of security. No one knows who did it, but we must find them. All Jonin are to search the outer reaches of Konoha for any trace of anything suspicious. All Chunin are to inspect the houses of the murdered and look for clues. Genin are to take the bodies to the morgue for analysis of any signs of evidence. The Anbu will search the other countries secretly for any hint of hostility towards Konoha. As of right now, Konoha is under tight security. The only ones who are allowed back to Konoha are Naruto Uzumaki, Anko Midarashi, Tsunade Senju, and whoever is their companion. Those are the orders, now go. Sarutobi ordered. Everyone nodded with a bow as they all scattered in different directions. Sarutobi rubbed his temples as he got the biggest headache. With Shizune and the others. Shizune, Zabuza, Tsume, and Kurenai, being the only Jonin in the family besides Naruto and Anko, sent the others ahead as they decided to catch up the other Jonin for the unnecessary search for anything. Minato and Kushina were given an SS rank for them being alive and were made into Anbu by Sarutobi. Both went home to put on their Anbu gear and head out for the search. Haku, Kin, Kiba and Hana being Chunin headed to the separate houses of the council members to investigate the scenes along with the other Chunin. Yagura, being an unregistered civilian of Konoha, decided to go home and guard the place. No one could find Makoto for some reason, but they were sure she was somewhere close to Sasuke. Everyone went to their assigned duties as they all kept up the innocent act. With Shizune, Zabuza, Tsume, and Kurenai. So what do we do now? Kurenai asked them. Tsume and Zabuza turned to Shizune with the same question as the woman smiled, which caused everyone to raise their eyebrow at her. Why, we are going to search. There's nothing out there, but let's go anyway, Shizune said with an innocent smile. Everyone absently nodded as they left Konoha to search for any evidence to the resulting deaths of the council. All Jonin were split into 4 groups which scattered into every direction. Same with the Anbu, Genin, and Chunin as everyone did their jobs. With Haku, Kin, Kiba, and Hana. Haku and Kin followed Kiba to the Sakura's house since none of the other Chunin were there. Hana decided to separate from them and check another house herself since she wanted to get everything done faster. All 3 saw people gathered around with looks of shock evident on their faces. Haku, Kin, and Kiba all smirked from the horror on some people's faces, but got serious as they made their presence evident. Everyone out of the way. We are here to investigate the house, Kiba said while Kin and Haku chuckled at Kiba, enjoying the fact that he could give orders now. Seeing the Chunin vests, people backed up for the three to enter as they all walked inside. The smell of blood made the three wince slightly, but they didn't pay it too much mind. Kiba, Kin and Haku walked upstairs and came to the room where they heard the crying. All three came into the room and saw Sakura crying as she had her head on her mother's bed. Hearing the sound of footsteps, Sakura struggled to look up and saw the three Hanyu Chunin as she narrowed her eyes at them. What the hell do you three want? Sakura asked them in a slightly choked up voice. Everyone ignored her as Haku took a look at the beheaded body. Haku knelt on one knee and examined it as she was a practicer of medical ninjutsu and the body's physical states. Haku knew better than to disturb the scene and didn't touch the body, but looked around the body for evidence of what she already knew happened. Sakura looked at Haku examining the body and saw Kiba and Kin looking around the room like they were searching for something. Sakura seethed that they were in her room and suddenly snapped. What are you doing here? Get out. You three have no right being here. Sakura yelled. Haku, Kin and Kiba sighed as they turned to her. Sakura, shut up. We are trying to work here. If you want us to find out who did this, then make yourself useful for once and get out so we can do our job, Kiba told her. Sakura flinched slightly and eyed the three Chunin a bit more, but sucked her teeth and left without much of a fight. Having seen Sakura leave the scene, Kiba and the others made a detailed report of what they found and what they observed. After they did that, they all left as they saw Neji, Shikamaru and Shino entered the house and carry out Sakura's mother. Everyone nodded as they went to report to the Hokage about their findings. With Minato and Kushina, the two Anbu ran through the trees to go to the nearest country and inspect the place like they were ordered, though the two saw no need to since the cause was closer than anyone thought. Let's go, Kushina. We have to hurry, Minato told her. Kushina nodded in agreement as they picked up their pace and ran off. Minato gave a mental sigh as he found the situation disturbing, but didn't complain too much about it. Kushina, on the other hand, gave a hidden smile as she found nearly the entire situation amusing. The two continued to run through the trees to Rice Country for a simple investigation. With Makoto. Makoto was in front of her house again as she felt Sasuke's presence inside. Makoto struggled with opening the door and coming to her son, but she wasn't sure what was holding her back. Ever since the conversation she heard Sasuke having with Kakashi, she wasn't sure how to approach him anymore. Makoto sighed, but turned nodded as she opened the door to her house. Makoto looked around the house again as she felt a slightly ominous feeling from it. Makoto walked up the stairs to her son's room and stood only a few inches away, only having the door keeping the mother and son apart. Makoto sighed as she knocked on the door. If it's Sakura, then go away, I don't have the time to deal with you, Sasuke said. Makoto stiffened slightly, but turned the knob on the door and came in to see Sasuke on his bed with his arm over his eyes. Hello, Sasuke, Makoto said to him. Sasuke's eyes widened as he heard the melodious voice. Sasuke removed his arm from his face and shot up to see his mother in the door. Sasuke sat on his bed motionless for a few minutes before putting up a hand sign. Kai, Sasuke said, to which Makoto raised an eyebrow. Sasuke seethed as he flashed his Sharingan to dispel the supposed genjutsu placed on him. Sasuke gasped as he found everything to be real. Makoto gave a soft smile to Sasuke and neared him as Sasuke watched her movements carefully. Makoto sat at the edge of his bed and smiled while Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Has my son gotten cold on me in my absence? Makoto asked him. Sasuke didn't answer as he found the reality of what he was seeing to be impossible. Sasuke suddenly let tears fall off his face for the first time since that night after seeing Makoto's smile. You're supposed to be dead. How are you back? Sasuke asked her. Makoto adopted a thinking pose for a second, but turned to Sasuke and smiled. Really, I don't know, but does it matter, Sasuke? I'm back and I missed my son, Makoto said to him. Sasuke stopped his crying and turned his head away from Makoto as the woman frowned slightly. Get out, Sasuke whispered. Makoto neared him to hear what he said as Sasuke turned around fast with his Sharingan in full flare. Get out, Sasuke yelled to her. Makoto gasped as she instantly got up. Makoto slightly flinched from his gaze as she tried to talk to him. Sasuke, what's the matter? Why are you? Sasuke stopped her as he grabbed a kunai from underneath his bed. Makoto gasped as she shuddered under Sasuke's gaze. I don't know who the hell you are, but you're not my mother. My mother is gone and she will never come back. Get out before I kill you. You disgrace my clan with your presence. Don't let me see your face ever again, Sasuke said as Makoto felt the tears roll off her face. Makoto saw Sasuke was serious and held her head down as she left the room, then closed the door. Makoto walked down the stairs and opened the entrance door, but looked back with a frown. Sasuke, what has happened to you? Makoto thought as she left the house. Makoto left the compound altogether as she wondered where she should go. Makoto simply walked through the compound as tears rushed down her face. With Sasuke. Sasuke seethed as he gripped the sheets of his bed in frustration. Sasuke was close to losing it. The curse mark, his one true source of power, was gone and his didn't know why. Sasuke seethed as he wondered why his life was going so wrong. Sasuke had found Itachi, but he was still weak. He got his handed to him and he could do nothing but stand there. It was like he didn't train for anything. He was an elite and yet he kept getting beat by others. He got beat by Itachi. He got outclassed by Shizune. He got beat by Naruto. Sasuke paused as his face tightened even more in anger. Damn Dobi. He's the cause of everything. Itachi wanted him for some reason. I am the elite. Why would Itachi need the Dobi when I'm the strongest? That Dobi, he's been the damn wall that stood in my way. Everything I've trained for, he's surpassed me at every turn. I need more. I need more power. I need it at any cost, Sasuke said to himself as he gave a weird grin. Sasuke suddenly chuckled slightly, but it turned into a full-blown laugh which sounded quite ominous. I'll do it. I'll kill you, Dobi. I'll make you fall to your knees and have your eyes filled with despair when I end your life. You won't be a threat to me much longer. I'll make damn sure of that, Sasuke said with a wicked smirk. Sasuke suddenly gasped as he knew there was one person he could go to for his power. He had felt a weird chakra from the man, but he was strong without a doubt. It's time I go and meet that Danzo guy, Sasuke said as he got up and walked out of his room. With Sakura. Sakura was currently outside taking the sympathies people had for her about her mother. Sakura continued to cry as she walked away from her house. She didn't have a single destination in mind, but she just wanted to get away from her house. Sakura walked absently until she came into a training ground. Sakura looked around to see she was all alone as she looked up at the sky. Why Kami? I've never done anything wrong. Why did my mother have to die? Why damn it? Why? Sakura yelled as she punched a nearby tree making it shake. Sakura screamed as she continuously punched the tree in front of her until her fists bruised. Sakura stopped punching after 30 minutes and fell to the ground and cried, but stopped as she remembered her beloved Uchiha. Sasuke-kun. Is this how you felt? The feeling of loneliness. Is that why you're so obsessed with revenge? Sakura asked the empty training field only to receive silence in a response. Sakura tightened her fists and narrowed her eyes. I'll find out who did this. I'm going to kill the person responsible for all of this. I'll have my revenge, Sakura said and in addition gave a small smile across her face. Suddenly Sakura turned around to see Sasuke behind her with a smile on his face. It seems you understand my pain now, Sakura. That's good. Let's go. We are going to start our search, Sasuke said to her. Sakura nodded absently as she and Sasuke left the training field. With Naruto and the others. Naruto and the others continued to walk along the dirt road back to Konoha when Naruto turned his eyes to the right. Anko turned to Naruto and looked in the same direction to see Kushina waving for them. Naruto smirked as he turned back to Tsunade and Jiraiya. Alright Tsunade-chan, Arrow Sennin. Ka-san's here, Naruto told them. Tsunade and Jiraiya looked around to find her, but couldn't as Naruto waved his hand. Ka-san, you can come out now, Naruto told her. Kushina smirked behind her Anbu mask and came out along with Minato as they came in front of Naruto. Guess I can't hide from my son, Kushina said removing her mask. Jiraiya and Tsunade gasped as they felt they saw a ghost. Kushina smiled at them with a wave as she nudged the person next to her. Minato chuckled as he felt nostalgia from seeing Jiraiya and Tsunade again. Still being a pervert Jiraiya-sensei? Minato asked as he removed his mask. Jiraiya paled as he saw Minato's genuine face. Tsunade had the same reaction as Naruto and Anko smirked from the interactions. Minato. You're alive. You're alive. Jiraiya said as he placed his hand on Minato's shoulder. Minato chuckled at the inspection Jiraiya was doing on him as he turned to Naruto with a smile. So son, how's life on the road? Minato asked him. Naruto chuckled with a slight nod until he raised an eyebrow. So what's going on? Naruto asked them, though he had a pretty good idea. Kushina gave a hidden smirk, but turned serious as she looked at the small group. It seems that Konoha's council members have been murdered. The Hokage ordered us people of appropriate ranks to find out the reason and the person behind it, Kushina said to him. Naruto smirked with a nod along with Anko. Well Jiraiya, Tsunade, we'll have to talk to you later. We have business to take care of, Minato said as he and Kushina put their masks back on and ran off. Jiraiya turned to Naruto and placed a hand on his shoulder. How did you do it? I gotta know. Please Gaki, let me know, Jiraiya said to him. Naruto chuckled, but said nothing as he knew it was best. The technique for it was far too dangerous to anyone not immortal, so to save Jiraiya, Naruto simply said nothing. Sorry Ero Sennin, but I can't tell you. It's for your own good that I don't, Naruto told him. Jiraiya whimpered slightly as Tsunade and Fu walked up to them. Man, I wonder what I got into by following you people, Fu said as everyone chuckled. Fu rubbed the back of her head as she seemed to find trouble wherever she went. Though hearing that Konoha's council was murdered. What's happened since I was gone? Tsunade asked, but eyed Naruto as she knew he was the cause of it. She didn't really care much though. He had her loyalty and she wouldn't have it any other way. She always did hate the council anyway. They were always too egotistical for her needs. To her, it was more of a blessing than anything else. I suppose it would be shocking. Well, let's head back to Konoha and see what the hell is going on, Jiraiya said to them. Everyone nodded in agreement as they all continued to their walk back to Konoha. With Shizune and the others. After hours of searching, or what looked like searching, Shizune and the other Jonin sighed as they were getting a bit tired from all the needless searching. You find anything, Shizune? Genma asked her. Recently all the teams had come together to trade any information that they could have found. I found nothing, Genma-san. Zabuza, Sum, and Kurenai didn't find anything either. We don't even know what we're supposed to be looking for, Shizune said to him. Genma sighed with a nod as he took the Senbon out of his mouth. Genma nodded in agreement with Shizune as his team didn't find anything either. The Anbu were in other countries trying to find any information, so everyone was in the dark. Is it possible that maybe it was a rogue shinobi? Kurenai asked them. Genma adopted a thinking pose along with Shizune, who wanted to appear to be thinking. If that was the case, then why would they aim for the civilian council? Wouldn't they be better off going after the shinobi council? Someone asked. However, we can't ignore the possibility of this being an internal job. For right now, let's report to Hokage-sama, Genma to everyone, but before they all left, Zabuza stopped them. That still doesn't explain why they would go for the civilian council. You think they are sending us a message? Zabuza asked them. Some people pondered his question for a bit. He did make a good point. Rogue shinobi or not, people generally don't go for civilians, and this seemed to be more simple than everyone was probably making it. There seemed to be too many assumptions going around and everyone was getting frustrated from the hours of searching with no results. Genma sighed again as he put his Senbon in his mouth. You're right, Zabuza. Let's leave things for today. We should report our findings to Hokage-sama, Genma told them. Everyone nodded as they all shunshined out of sight. With Haku, Kin, and Kiba. After detailing their report to Sarutobi, all three left the room and sighed as they saw the villagers still in slight shock over the events. All three even heard some people gossiping about who could have committed the action. All three Chunin had hidden smirks on their faces as they walked through the town. After walking for a while, the three saw most of the genin sitting around a table in a tea shop. Hey guys, Kiba said, alerting everyone to their presence. Everyone gave their hellos as Haku, Kin, and Kiba sat down on the table. Not the way you wanted your morning to start, right? Kin asked them. Everyone gave a simple chuckle, but nodded as Shikamaru rubbed his head. It's all too troublesome. I wonder who did this anyway, Shikamaru said to them. Everyone shrugged their shoulders with a bored expression. Tenten and Lee turned to Kiba, Kin, and Haku and decided to get some answers. So you guys were the closest to anything. Did you find anything? Tenten asked them. Hiba shook his head in a negative as Kin placed her elbows on the table. Other than a bloodied room, nothing else, Kin told them. Everyone sighed and sipped some tea to calm their racking nerves over the incident. Soon everyone turned to see each of their respective sensei coming up to them. Kurenai sensei, did you find anything? Hiba asked her. Kurenai shook her head that they didn't as Kiba gave a fake, but believable groan and laid his head on the table. Has anyone seen Sakura? Kakashi asked them. Everyone unconsciously turned to Ino for an explanation, but the blonde didn't have one for them. Ino hadn't seen her all day. You think she's going to be okay? Hinata asked them. Everyone shrugged their shoulders while Kiba, Kin, and Haku smirked. She must be having a breakdown, all three thought to themselves. Everyone talked for a few more hours, but noticed that the sun was going down. Everyone sighed as they got up from the table to go home. Everyone bid each other a goodbye as they decided to end their searching for today. With Kurenai, Kiba, Kin, and Haku, all four walked towards the Namikaze compound as they all gave their own smiles. This village is in utter chaos. I can't believe everyone can't figure it out. Though even if they did, they couldn't stop it, Kin told them. Everyone nodded in agreement as they came to their house. Kurenai opened the door to see Zabuza, Sume, and Shizune on the floor sleeping. Kurenai chuckled as she told the three Chunin about their day of not finding anything. Yagura suddenly came from one of the side doors to see Kurenai and the others at the door. You guys mind helping me put these three in their rooms? Yagura asked them. Everyone nodded as they picked up a person and took them to their rooms. The three Jonin were sleeping soundly in their rooms as Kurenai and the others stretched. Well, let's go to bed. Naruto-kun returns tomorrow and I bet he'll have something planned for us tomorrow, Haku told them. Everyone nodded with smiles as they saw Hana come through the door. Hiba smiled as he saw his sister lay down on the floor. Find anything, Hana? Hiba asked her. Hana chuckled with an innocent smile as she enjoyed the softness of the carpet. Absolutely nothing. I found nothing at all, Hana told them. Everyone nodded as Kiba helped his sister to her bedroom. The house was quite quiet as a few people were still gone. Due to their supposed ranks as Anbu, Minato and Kushina wouldn't be back for a couple of days. Naruto and Anko were coming back tomorrow, so everyone really had nothing else to do but sleep. All the shinobi who were out were returning home for the day. So far no one was none the wiser to the plans of the Namikaze compound. Hokage Mansion. And that's the report from everyone, Hokage-sama. We didn't find any evidence at all, Shikaku said to him. Sarutobi nodded with a heavy puff of his pipe as he laid back into his chair. All the reports were on his desk as Sarutobi rubbed his temples. We have an assassin who kills all the members of the civilian council without alerting any of our best Anbu to the scene and vanishes without a trace. Is anyone even capable of that? Sarutobi asked rhetorically. Shikaku, not knowing that, decided to answer. In all truth, Hokage-sama, it isn't. Anyone would at least leave some sort of evidence no matter how small, but to find nothing is extremely rare. I'd say something is going to happen, Shikaku told him. Sarutobi nodded with a sigh as he made 3 cage buncheons as they helped him handle the tons of reports that he was forced to read since he was still the Hokage until Tsunade came back. With Makoto. Makoto had been wandering Konoha without a destination before she noticed that it was dark. Makoto sighed as she walked towards the only location she knew. Makoto wasn't sure, but she felt she was drawn to the Namikaze compound. She didn't know why, but it made things seem better despite everything happening. Makoto came up to the house to see it was dark, so she assumed everyone was sleeping. Makoto didn't want to wake anyone up, but knocked on the door softly as she waited for someone to open the door. After 5 minutes of waiting, Yagura opened the door to see Makoto standing outside. Makoto-san, are you okay? Yagura asked her. Makoto wasn't sure how to answer that question, but decided it was easier to simply nod and enter the compound. Makoto felt the warmth of the compound and gave a small smile as she headed to her own room. Makoto sat on her bed and looked at the wall absently for a few minutes. Sasuke, how much have you changed? Where is the sweet son that I love with all my heart? Makoto asked the vacant space as she laid her head on the pillow. Makoto soon went to sleep with a single tear going down her face. With Sasuke and Sakura, both were currently at the Uchiha compound as Sasuke went through some scrolls from his clan. Sakura did the same as she found some impressive Kaden jutsu information. Sasuke-kun, did you find anything? Sakura asked him. Sasuke shook his head in a negative as he scrolled down the scroll. Both were looking for the next level of the Sharingan since Sasuke wasn't sure what it was. Sasuke sighed as he wondered what he should do. Sasuke scrolled down a bit more, but stopped as his eyes widened. Sakura, come here. I think I found it, Sasuke said to her. Sakura stopped her searching and came over to Sasuke's side as they looked at the scroll. Sasuke pointed to a specific part and gave it to Sakura. Read this part, Sasuke simply said to her. Sakura nodded and straightened her voice as she looked at the words on the scroll. It says, the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan has always been passed down to the males of the Uchiha clan. The males prove their worth by mastering the Kaden Gokaku no Jutsu. When the male inherits the Sharingan, he is put through rigorous training to master it. He will have one tomo in the eye when it is activated. After completed training he will gain two, and in the field he will most likely gain the third and final tomo. This is the final form of the Sharingan, but there is a forbidden way to go higher. Sakura paused for a second to catch her breath while Sasuke listened to the words intently. Sakura caught her breath and continued. In the times of Madara and Izuna Uchiha, the brothers were the first to surpass the limits of the Sharingan and unlock the next stage, which is called the Mangekyo Sharingan. This type of Sharingan has different abilities and formation of the eyes. It solely depends upon the type of user that inherits it. The preferred way is for the user to kill their best friend. The techniques of the Mangekyo Sharingan are limited, but it grants the user control over time and space which they can bend to their will. This technique is called Tsukuyomi. It is used with the right eye of the Mangekyo Sharingan. It's considered one of the most powerful genjutsu in the world. The next technique is called Amaterasu. It consists of using the left eye to cast black flames upon the target. Once the flames hit the person, death is imminent. The flames will burn for all eternity without proper control. The last and final technique is called the Susanoo. It presumably requires both eyes to perform, but no one has done this technique, so not much is known about it. While fighting, due to overuse of the Mangekyo, Madara Uchiha's vision deteriorated, which led to blindness. Madara, not being able to take being blind, took his brother's eyes and transplanted them in replacement of his own. This granted him the most powerful level of the Sharingan, known as the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Madara is the only known successor to the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, thus making him the Uchiha clan's greatest user of the Sharingan. Sakura finished. Sasuke narrowed his eyes at the new information and gave a hidden smile as Sakura sat next to him. Sasuke-kun, do you think the Mangekyo Sharingan will help you get your revenge on Itachi? Sakura asked him. Sasuke turned to Sakura and smiled with a nod. That's right, Sakura, but I don't have any best friends, so I will simply train till I gain the Mangekyo. Once I have that, I will master the techniques that go with it. You're going to help me, right, Sakura? Sasuke asked her. Sakura smiled with a nod as she leaned her head on Sasuke's shoulder. Of course, Sasuke-kun. I'll help you do anything you wish, Sakura said to him. Sasuke nodded with a grin as the two sat in the hidden room. Sakura. Yes, Sasuke-kun. It's time to leave this pathetic village behind. We aren't going to get strong by staying here. Let's get out of here in about 2 days, Sasuke said to her. Sakura nodded with a smile as she got up. Yes, Sasuke-kun. I've had it with this place. Anywhere you go, I will follow. Let's get out of here, Sakura said to him. Sasuke nodded with a smile as his eyes burned with anticipation. First Itachi, and then you, Dobi. Don't worry, Dobi, I will do the thing that you have always wanted to do with your pitiful life. After I kill Itachi, I will become the Hokage of this damn village in your place, and I'll end your pathetic existence once and for all. Then the world will kneel at my feet, Sasuke said as he gave a simple laugh that echoed throughout the room. Naruto and the others continued their trek back to Konoha as they all saw the gates in sight. Naruto sighed with a smile as he grabbed Anko and Tsunade. Both girls gasped while a shadow clone grabbed Jiraiya and Fu. Naruto gave everyone a foxy grin while they all had confused looks on their faces. What? I'm sick of walking. Let's travel in style, Naruto said to them as everyone disappeared in the horizon. The group appeared in front of the gates, which shocked Izumo and Katetsu from their gate duty. The two gate guards looked to see Naruto rubbing a small lump on his head from Tsunade. Azumo and Katetsu gasped as they appeared in front of the group. Both bowed to Tsunade while caused the Senju to blush. Welcome back Tsunade-sama. However, it seems you came back at a difficult time, Azumo said while Tsunade waved her hand at them. Both arched up their eyebrows at her while everyone else walked forward, passing the giant gates of Konoha. We heard about it from two Anbu. Is it true that the entire civilian council was murdered? Jiraiya asked them. Azumo and Katetsu instantly nodded, which caused Naruto to give a hidden evil smile along with Anko. Tsunade kept a firm composure, but was mentally laughing as she wondered what Sukuna looked like scared. After clarifying their identification, the group left the gates as they walked towards the Hokage mansion. Everyone noticed that people were murmuring about the recent events that happened. Everyone seemed more or less terrified that it might happen to them. Some people were able to forget about it as soon as they saw Naruto, or the demon, walking through the streets. Naruto felt their stares and sighed as he wondered if he should just kill everyone right now. After about 10 minutes, everyone made it to the Hokage mansion as they walked up the stairs to see Sarutobi talking to a group of Anbu. No sooner did the group come in did the Anbu vanish without leaving a trace of their presence. Sarutobi turned to everyone and smiled as he stood to his feet. Tsunade, you're back, Sarutobi said with a gleam on his face. Tsunade gave a soft smile at her old teacher and wrapped her arm around Naruto, causing some of her bust to drape over him. Yeah, Sarutobi-sensei, this disrespectful Gaki managed to bring me to my senses, Tsunade said while Naruto smiled at his blonde woman of a Sanin. Ah, Tsunade-chan, you're mean. Granted, I called you Ba-chan, you know I didn't mean it, Naruto told her. Tsunade chuckled with a nod while Sarutobi turned to Naruto, who had his thumbs up. Mission accomplished, Gigi, Naruto told him. Sarutobi nodded with a smile as he took out a paper, but was stopped by Anko. Hokage-sama, we also have a present for you, Anko told him. Sarutobi quirked up an eyebrow before Anko took out a scroll. Applying some charca to it, a sword came out as Anko tossed it to Sarutobi. He gazed at the shimmering sword and dropped his jaw slightly as he was looking at Orochimaru's signature sword, Kusanagi. Sarutobi turned to them while Anko wrapped her arms around Naruto. Naruto-kun and I managed to end Orochimaru's life along with his boy toy, Kabuto, Anko said with utter happiness in her voice. Sarutobi turned to Jiraiya and Tsunade, who nodded in agreement. Sarutobi nearly dropped the sword to the ground. Sarutobi gave a small frown, but it didn't take long before it was replaced with the warmest smile any of them had the pleasure of seeing. Thank you, Naruto-kun, Anko. I'm glad my mistake has been corrected. I only wish I'd had done it to get some peace in my life. Orochimaru had a huge bounty on his head along with Kabuto. I really don't know how I can pay you both, but I'll find a way. This is probably the best news I've heard all day, Sarutobi said to them. Naruto nodded with a smile while Sarutobi gave the sword back to Anko. I'd say the sword was yours, Anko. Use it well, Sarutobi told her. Anko grinned, but nodded and took the sword back into her hands. Sarutobi soon sighed along with Jiraiya and Tsunade, which caused Naruto, Anko, and Fu to turn to them in confusion. Tsunade leaned next to Naruto and could only tell him the news. I'm sure that you are going to be in the bingo book due to this. Trust me, you and might make A rank if not S rank shinobi in the book, Tsunade said with a wink. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly, but formed a smile while Jiraiya tapped his shoulder. Only a Jonin for a short time and he's already making history. What a wonder Gaki we have here, Jiraiya said to them. Everyone laughed, but Sarutobi's face turned serious. Alright, but I must bring to everyone's attention that the civilian side of the council was murdered and you're looking for those responsible, Naruto said, cutting Hiruzen off. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow to how Naruto knew, but shrugged it off as he placed his elbows on the desk. Naruto-kun is right. People are currently quite afraid of leaving their houses until we say that the matter is resolved. I know you just got back, but Naruto, I have another mission for you in a group. I want you to lead this one, Sarutobi told him. Naruto raised an eyebrow, but nodded at the thought of leading a team. Most of Anbu are gone, but a few offered to stay behind. The Jonin returned also. I want you to create a small team and investigate the edge of the border of Fire County, Sarutobi ordered. Naruto nodded with a bow as everyone walked away, but were stopped again. Oh, who is this? Sarutobi asked, pointing to Fu. Fu gave a smile and bowed towards Konoha's leader and the rumored man to be the strongest shinobi in the world. Hello Hokage-sama. I am Fu. I don't have a surname. I'm Tsunade-sama's apprentice, Fu said to him. Sarutobi instantly nodded and turned to Tsunade, who nodded after him. Sarutobi was going to find out later as he figured everyone was tired, so he allowed them to leave. Naruto turned back around and gave a smile. Hey Gigi, when do me and my team leave? Naruto asked him. Sarutobi adopted a thinking pose, but it didn't last long and took out a sheet of paper. You leave tomorrow morning. So get some rest, he told them. Naruto nodded as everyone left. Sarutobi sighed as he made 3 shadow clones to help him handle the dreaded paperwork. Naruto and the others exited the Hokage mansion when Naruto turned back to everyone. So what's everyone going to do? Naruto asked them. Anko wrapped her arms around Naruto and gave a small smile. I'm going to go home and sleep. I would really like one right now, Anko told him. I'm going to check Fu and I into a hotel since we don't really have a living room space in Konoha right now, Tsunade said, answering Naruto's question. Fu simply nodded in agreement with Tsunade and her answer. Jiraiya gave a perverted grin and rubbed his hands together, which was all Naruto needed to know. Tsunade-chan, why don't you and Fu come live in the Namikaze compound with me and the others? We have about 5 more rooms until I have to create more space. You two should come with us, Naruto told her. Tsunade chuckled along with Fu, but they both nodded as Jiraiya left the group to do some research. Naruto and the rest of his group walked back to the compound as Tsunade looked around the village. Man, other than the semi-terrified looks on people's faces, this place hasn't changed at all, Tsunade said as her eyes roamed around. Everyone chuckled as Naruto grabbed the 3 girls. All of them vanished in yellow lightning as they appeared in front of the compound. Namikaze compound. Naruto opened the door to see some of his family on the floor with bored expressions on their faces. Naruto chuckled as he invited Tsunade and Fu inside. Anko chuckled also at the sight while Naruto walked forward. Is everyone really that bored? Naruto asked them. Everyone got up and looked to see Naruto and Anko smiling at them. Kin, Haku and Kiba got up as they walked over to the blonde Hanyu. Hey Naruto, you're back. You also brought one fine babe with you, Kiba said, eyeing Tsunade. Tsunade chuckled while Naruto rolled his eyes. Naruto looked around the house to find anyone else, but turned to the 3 in front of him. Where's everyone else? Naruto asked, genuinely curious. Kin, Kiba, and Haku turned to each other and smiled before turning back to Naruto. Yagura is out back training by himself. Shizune, Tsume, Hana, and Zabuza are out on the Hokage's orders along with Minato-san and Kushina. Kurenai is somewhere, but we haven't seen her, Kin said, which caused Naruto to nod. Naruto turned to Tsunade and Fu and gave them a warm smile. Pick a room, girls. They're just a bit down the hall. You can spend your time doing whatever for right now, Naruto told them. Fu and Tsunade nodded as they left to put their things away. Naruto began to walk away with Anko to unpack their things before Haku and Kin brought him back. What's wrong, girls? Naruto asked them. Both girls had frowns on their faces, but turned to Naruto with concern in their eyes. Naruto-kun, we're concerned about Makoto. She's been so depressed as of late and she won't talk to any of us. She simply sits in her room quietly and does nothing. Do you think you could say something? Haku asked him. Naruto narrowed his eyes and looked at the ground for a few minutes. Naruto sighed as he turned back to Kin and Haku with a smile on his face. Sure, girls. I'll go see what's bugging Makoto-chan. Thank you for the information, Naruto told them. Haku and Kin nodded with smiles on their faces as they each kissed his cheek and walked off. Naruto blushed slightly, but got over it fast as he went into his room. Naruto put his stuff down and began to pack his clothes for his mission. Let's see. I think it's time I did some major movements now. Let's see. Maybe I should move everyone to Oto since that village should be shy one snake bastard. Maybe I'll look while I'm out on the mission, Naruto said to himself as he sealed some clothes and ninja tools into his scrolls. Naruto put the various scrolls on the bed and scratched the back of his head in some slight irritation. Naruto soon heard some knocking on the door and walked downstairs. Naruto opened the door to see Tenten at the entrance. Naruto raised an eyebrow, but smiled nonetheless. "Hello Tenten, what's the matter?" Naruto asked her. Tenten smiled and rubbed the back of her head. Naruto calmly waited for her response. Tenten blushed slightly, but nodded to herself as she turned back to Naruto. Due to the incident no one had training and I just wanted to see how everyone was doing. Most of the people were burying the dead members and attending various funerals. I know this isn't the best time to ask this, but Tenten stopped for a second to gauge Naruto's reaction. Naruto still wondered what she was getting at, but kept the smile on his face. Well, I made a bet with Neji about the fight you had with that brooder of an Uchiha a few months ago. It was a stupid bet that was like if I won he would denounce destiny for the rest of his life. Naruto chuckled at the thought of Neji actually doing that, but stopped as Tenten continued. And if I lost, I would go out on a date with you. I won from your match so Neji has to denounce destiny or fate for the rest of his life. I still wanted to date you nonetheless. I simply like you Naruto-kun and I was wondering if you would go out with me on a date. Tenten asked him. Naruto dropped his jaw slightly at the confession, but turned his head to the living room to see Haku, Kin, and Anko chuckling at him and Tenten. Naruto narrowed his eyes in a dangerous glare as the girl's sweat dropped and backed away as they whistled a few tones and left. Naruto turned back to Tenten and gave a frown. Well, I have a mission tomorrow Tenten, so I can't really take you anywhere, Naruto told her. Tenten's smile faded slightly and nodded as she looked at the ground. Oh, well that's okay. I just wanted to ask. Later, Naruto, Tenten said as she turned to leave. Naruto's frown turned into a smile as he ran up to Tenten and placed his hand on her shoulder. Tenten turned to see Naruto smiling as she wondered what else he wanted. You didn't let me finish Tenten. I was gonna take you somewhere after my mission was over. I'll probably be gone for a few days, but after that I could take you on a date, Naruto told her. Tenten smiled with a nod as she gave Naruto a soft hug that he returned. Tenten kissed his cheek as she waved goodbye to him, but turned around. Oh, I almost forgot. Neji, Shikamaru, and Shino wanted to see you about something later, Tenten said as she ran off. Naruto quirked up an eyebrow at the mention of those three, but shrugged it off for a later memory. Naruto walked back inside to see the girls smiling at him. What? Naruto asked them. All their smiles turned into chuckles as Anko sipped some water. It seems Naruto-kun is falling for the weapons mistress, Haku said, which caused Naruto to blush. Naruto shifted his gaze around the room, which made the girls chuckle some more. Naruto huffed as he went upstairs as he didn't have to take this from his girls. He's too easy to tease, Anko said, which caused Haku and Kin to nod as they all sipped their drinks. Naruto climbed the stairs till he made it back to the upper floor and looked for Makoto's room. Naruto sighed as he wondered how this talk would go for him and Makoto. Naruto finally found her door and knocked on it. Naruto waited for a few minutes and heard nothing as he knocked on the door. Makoto-chan, are you in there? Naruto asked and still received silence for a response. Naruto sighed again as he unhinged his fox ears and leaned one of them on the door. Thanks to his hearing, Naruto could hear the simple heartbeat from Makoto as he knew she was in the room. Naruto knocked again as he tried to get Makoto to open the door. Makoto-chan, will you talk to me if something's bothering you? Naruto asked her. Makoto shifted in her bed slightly, but still said nothing as she just wanted to be alone. The last person Makoto wanted to see was Naruto. She knew this wasn't his fault, but she wasn't sure how to deal with anything. Makoto pulled the covers closer to her. Naruto rubbed the bridge of his nose as he was going to regret doing this. Normally Naruto wouldn't barge into someone's room, even if it was his house, but he would be damned if Makoto ended up like Sasuke. Naruto fished through his pockets and found the master key that opens all the doors in the house and placed it inside the keyhole. Naruto twisted the doorknob and pushed the door open. He walked inside to see it was a bit dark due to the window being covered by the blinds. Naruto advanced towards Makoto's bed and sat at the edge of the bed as he saw Makoto still not responding. Makoto-chan, it's not good to bottle things up. If you have something you want to say, then say it, Naruto told her. Makoto shifted slightly in the sheets like she was mulling over Naruto's words. They did make sense, but she wasn't sure. Makoto slowly released the sheets from her face and turned to see Naruto on her bed. Naruto moved a little slower so as not to have her tense up in front of him. Naruto calmly placed his hand over hers while caused Makoto to relax a little. I met Sasuke yesterday, Makoto said softly. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he turned his body towards her to give her his full attention. I was so happy to see my son again. I kept wondering what he would think and would be my son again, but Makoto started to cry as Naruto waited for her to settle down. Makoto still cried softly, but continued. He didn't believe it was me. He said I should have been dead and thought I was an illusion. He pulled a kunai out on me and told me to leave him and never come back. I think my heart sank when I heard those words. Naruto, where did my son go? Makoto asked him. Naruto rubbed his hand through his hair as he wondered how he should answer that question. Naruto tried to gather an answer and turned to Makoto who, if one looked close enough in her eyes, really needed an answer to her question. There is no easy answer to that, Makoto-chan, but I'll give you my answer. I think the Tem is like this mainly because of Itachi and your family. I remember talking with Gigi and he told me that the Uchiha were planning overthrow Konoha and so Itachi put the life of his village before his own family. He was ordered to kill all of you, but he just couldn't kill Sasuke. Sasuke's been fueled by revenge since that day, but he's also had his pride elevated by the villagers and shinobi who saw the Sharingan as the perfect dojutsu. To tell you the true, Makoto-chan, I can't really sympathize with Sasuke and I probably never will, but he won't see you as his mother since he saw you die right in front of his eyes, Naruto told her. Makoto cried again, but gasped as she felt Naruto give her a soft hug. Makoto blushed slightly from the feeling of his muscles on her. I'm sorry, Makoto-chan, but Sasuke isn't going to change. The sooner you realize that, the easier your life might be. I've been a parent so I know what it's like to lose my child. Shizune-chan also knows. She knows the pain of seeing your child die while you could do nothing but watch. I'm never going to let that happen again. That's all I wanted to say, Naruto said as he released the hug. Makoto put her head down as she looked at the sheets on her bed. Naruto got up to leave as he still had to select his members. Don't leave, Makoto said softly though Naruto couldn't hear her. Naruto stopped and turned around to face Makoto again. Did you say something, Makoto-chan? Naruto asked her. Makoto brought her head lower into the sheets, but spoke a little louder with the sheets muffling the sound of her voice. Please don't leave, Makoto said to him. Naruto narrowed his eyes at her, but shrugged his shoulders as he closed the door and sat back on the bed. Both spent a quiet time in the room as there wasn't anything to really talk about. Naruto turned his head slowly to see Makoto still with her head in the sheets. Naruto turned his body to face her and rubbed the back of her head, which caused Makoto to look up. You can still leave if you want. I'm not going to force you or anything. You certainly don't have to leave her if you don't want to. Maybe some time away from the village might do you some good, Naruto told her. Makoto didn't respond, but simply stared at his deep blue eyes. Makoto suddenly leaned forward and locked her lips with Naruto as the blonde gasped from the softness of her lips. Makoto pulled back while Naruto tried to register what just happened. I don't want to leave. This place, it's the only place that feels warm. The feeling I get here, it's like a true family. It's so much like the warmth my family once had. Now I'm the only one who feels that way. I'm not doing too well. Naruto-kun, can you show me the warmth of a family again? Makoto asked him. Naruto looked at Makoto for a second as he seemed to be contemplating her question. Naruto gave a soft smile as he leaned next to Makoto. Even if it's a family of half-demons? Naruto asked her as a little joke to lighten the mood. Makoto gave a small smile, but nodded as Naruto wrapped his arms around Makoto. Makoto wasn't sure if this was right or wrong, but she didn't care at the moment. She just knew she needed Naruto right now. Naruto closed the distance between him and Makoto as he locked his lips with hers. Makoto submitted to the kiss as she felt Naruto's hands move onto her shoulders. Makoto felt slightly warm as she continued her make-out session with Naruto. Naruto massaged Makoto's shoulders as he felt her tongue intrude into his mouth as the two fought for dominance with Naruto easily winning the outcome. Makoto moaned into the kiss as Naruto's right hand moved down and rested on Makoto's right. Makoto moaned as she felt her body heat up even more from Naruto's touch. Soon the need for air became too great as Naruto separated from Makoto. Naruto gave a soft smile to Makoto which caused her body to relax a little. Naruto licked his lips and teased Makoto's left earlobe as his hands roamed her body. Naruto managed to get inside her clothing and touch the bare skin of her. "Do you like this, Makoto-chan?" Naruto asked her as he played with one of her with his thumb and forefinger as Makoto seemed to mesmerized to answer, but tried her best to give out one. Naruto-kun, it feels good. I feel very hot, Makoto said as Naruto moved his lips down from her ear to her neck, giving soft kisses along the way. Makoto tried to resist the urge to moan too loudly for fear of people hearing them, but nearly did as Naruto latched onto one of her giving it a firm suck. Makoto threw her head back as she felt Naruto's soft and powerful lips on her. Naruto smirked as he moved his right hand down to Makoto's nether region. Naruto widened his eyes as he felt how wet Makoto had gotten. Naruto gave her a soft smile as he continued to play with her and massaged her. Makoto was virtually thrown back as she leaned back on the bed as Naruto moved his hand from her panties to her thighs, giving them a nice, warm massage. Makoto moved on of her hands and felt the bulge in Naruto's pants which caused the female Uchiha to smile. Makoto positioned herself in front of Naruto. "Now it's my turn to have some fun," Makoto said as she pulled Naruto's pants down leaving only his boxers. Makoto smiled at the bulge straining to rip through Naruto's boxes as she rubbed her soft hands over it. Naruto groaned as he felt how soft Makoto's hands were. He was in heaven, but gasped as he saw Makoto pull his boxers down. Makoto stared at his erect member and gently touched it as she watched it twitch from her touch. Makoto turned to Naruto who appeared to be really enjoying himself. Makoto decided to try a little something as she gave his a soft lick. Naruto nearly gripped the sheets which told Makoto she was really good. That's great, Makoto-chan. It's amazing, Naruto told her. Makoto smiled as she wrapped her entire hand around his and gave him a handjob to stimulate him. Makoto moved her hand up and down as she saw his precum leak out of his. Makoto stopped her movement as she gave the tip a few quick lick to whip it clean. Makoto continued to lick the tip of his until she went further and opened her mouth to swallow the thick member. Naruto gritted his teeth as he felt the wetness of Makoto's mouth and a bit of her throat as Makoto bobbed her head up and down giving Naruto one incredible blowjob. "Momiz sit Maruto-kun, how is it Naruto-kun?" Makoto asked him as she continued her pleasure. Naruto grunted as he grabbed Makoto's head while she softly worked on his. "It feels wonderful, Makoto-chan. I'm gonna come soon," Naruto said, which caused Makoto to bob her head faster to get Naruto's white milk. Naruto could feel her sucking get stronger as he found his will dwindling. Damn it, Makoto-chan. I'm coming," Naruto yelled as Makoto paused as she felt Naruto's semen rush into her mouth. Makoto slowly took her mouth off Naruto's as she felt some drop on her fingers. Makoto made sure not to spill the rest as she savored the taste of it for a bit before swallowing it. It was a little salty, but she didn't mind it too much. Makoto looked at her finger as she licked it clean from the cum. Makoto turned back to Naruto who gave her a soft smile before kissing her again. Makoto initially gasped at the kiss, but shook it off as she broke the connection from Naruto. "I take it you liked it?" Makoto asked him. Naruto nodded as Makoto leaned back on the bed. She slowly removed her clothes as she let them drop to the floor. Naruto stared at her amazing body, as she only had one article of clothing left. Makoto chuckled as she brought her hands to her thighs and slipped out of her as Naruto watched the white undergarments fall to the floor. Naruto looked shocked as he stared at a perfectly Makoto. Makoto noticed his stares as Naruto knelt down and hungrily attached his mouth to the exposed lips of her nether region. Makoto twitched under the pleasure of his warm tongue as it went into the deepest reaches of her body. Makoto quickly grabbed Naruto's blonde hair and squeezed it tight as Naruto worked his magic on her. Naruto noticed how wet her was and that she was ready for him. Naruto moved his body over Makoto's as his stopped at the near entrance of her. Makoto looked to see the hesitant face that Naruto had won as he decided to ask. "Are you sure about this, Makoto-chan? We can stop here if you want," Naruto told her. Makoto closed her eyes and smiled as she turned to face the blonde man who was over her body. Makoto cupped Naruto's cheeks as she gave him an assuring kiss and leaned back. It's all right, Naruto-kun. I'm glad you doing this with me. I was having a hard time, but I feel much better now. Please fill me with your warmth, Makoto softly said to him. Naruto nodded with a smile as he pushed inside Makoto. Makoto gasped as she wondered how big he was until he managed to hit her cervix. Makoto threw her head back in pleasure as Naruto groaned. Makoto-chan, you're so tight. It's incredible, Naruto said as he rocked his hips back and forth. Makoto gave out pleasurable moans from the thrusting Naruto was doing. Naruto moved a bit faster as Makoto held onto the bed sheets. Naruto leaned in close and gave Makoto a soft kiss which she returned as Naruto continued to pound her some more. Makoto managed to match the movement of his hips. Makoto wrapped her arms around Naruto as the two continued their love-making. Naruto-kun, it's so big. I love it. Pound me faster. Me harder. Makoto yelled, not caring anymore if someone heard her. Naruto instantly agreed as he moved faster for her pleasure. Makoto moaned loudly from the pleasure as Naruto felt his tighten. Makoto-chan, I'm gonna come soon, Naruto told her. Makoto heard him as her moans continued to gain a higher volume. Makoto could feel her high coming as she wrapped her legs around Naruto, preventing his escape. Naruto turned back to Makoto, who gave him a warm smile. Do it inside, Naruto-kun. I want to feel it inside me, Makoto told him. Naruto nodded with a smile as he moved in faster thrusts while connecting his lips to Makoto's. Naruto gave a final thrust and yelled, I'm coming. Naruto suddenly unleashed its entire load inside Makoto as the female Uchiha felt her be filled from the amount of Naruto's cum. Naruto smirked as he moved a little more, which stimulated Makoto even more. Makoto couldn't take the pleasure anymore as she grabbed Naruto's blonde hair. Naruto-kun, I'm coming. Makoto yelled as her juices slashed over Naruto's. Naruto fell on top of Makoto as they rested from their session. Naruto, still having his spent inside Makoto, ruffled her black hair, bringing her attention to him. Makoto gave him a warm smile as she kissed the bottom of his lip. I love you, Makoto-chan, Naruto said to her. Makoto blushed, but smiled as she brought Naruto's head closer to her body. I love you, Naruto-kun, Makoto said as they two stayed in their position for a bit longer before rejoining everyone else downstairs. Naruto exited the room, leaving a sleeping, but happy Makoto in the room as he went downstairs to see mostly everyone back home. Hey Shizune-chan, Naruto said to her. Shizune turned to see her blonde Hanyu husband and gave him a big hug and a quick kiss. Hello Naruto-kun. I'm glad you're back. So how was your week? Shizune asked him. Naruto adopted a thinking pose as he turned to Anko. Yeah no. Got another recruit, met some people, tortured Orochimaru and Kabuto, and killed them. It was pretty boring. How about you? Naruto asked her. Shizune smiled as she released her hug. Yeah no. Killed some people, felt happy while doing it, killed the Banshee's mother. Ya no. The simple things, Shizune said to him. Naruto stifled a laugh, but got serious as he sat on the floor, gathered the available people who were in the house. All right everyone. Apparently our plan worked and now Konoha is downright terrified. We're going to continue to push them, but we need a few more allies, then we will attack. However, right now, I have a mission. Due to our actions, I'm going to Kiri to check the place out. It will give me the chance to correct something once we get there. Gigi told me to assemble a team and take them with me. It's going to be me, Shizune-chan, Kurenai-chan, Hiba, and an Anbu that Gigi thought we should bring with us, Naruto informed them. Everyone nodded as the selected people went to their rooms to pack. Naruto turned to some of the other left and smirked. Zabuza, Haku, Kin and Yagura. I have my own mission for you four, Naruto told them. All four nodded as Naruto told them the details. Zabuza smirked under his mask along with Yagura as the four went to pack also for the mission Naruto assigned to them. After packing, the house was relatively quiet as people had begun to fall asleep. Next morning, Naruto and the others were in front of the gates as they waited for their Anbu partner to arrive. Naruto looked to his left to see Zabuza, Haku, Kin and Yagura move out of sight as he smirked. Naruto turned back to the rest of his group as they all saw someone appeared in a swirl of leaves. She was wearing a cat mask and had purple hair along with a sword strapped to her back. She wore the standard Anbu attire as she walked forward. People who worked with her simply refer to her as Naoko. Sorry for being late. Who's the leader for the mission? Naoko asked as Naruto stepped forward. That's me, Naoko-san. We're going to Kurigakure to investigate. We move out now. Let's go. Naruto told them. Everyone nodded as they hit to the trees and ran off in the direction of the hidden mist village. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere, 9 astral forms appeared on the fingertips of some statue as they all began to talk. I take it you didn't get the Kyuubi Jinchuriki? The leader asked Itachi. Itachi kept his cold look, but nodded. That's right. He's different from other Jinchuriki. It feels like he could kill us without even trying. It's somewhat nerving, Itachi said, which made someone laugh. Wow. Never thought I'd see the day when Itachi was scared of someone. One of them said, which made Itachi narrow his eyes. Someone else laughed also as Itachi turned his head to a man with a triple-bladed scythe. Man, Itachi, you must be losing your touch to be scared of some brat, the mysterious man said to him. Kisame rolled his eyes as he kept his sword on his back. At least we found our target. You two haven't seen your target once. It shouldn't be hard to find a green-haired girl traveling with a blonde woman, Kisame said, which effectively caused the man to stop laughing. Everyone continued to bicker for a while, but were stopped by the leader. That's enough. Zetsu report, the man said as a Venus flytrap-looking man with a half-white half-black face appeared. It seems that Orochimaru and Kabuto died about a week ago, Zetsu said, causing many people to gasp. Who did it? Kisame asked, really wanting to fight the guy who did. It was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and apparently the first apprentice to Orochimaru. I think her name was Anko Mitarashi from Konoha, Zetsu said as Itachi narrowed his eyes and Kisame rubbed the recovered wound across his chest. That is all, Leader Sama, Zetsu said to him. The man nodded as he turned to the group. Well, everyone avoid the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. He's obviously not a normal Jinchuriki. We have to get him last anyway. We will start on the others soon, the man said as everyone disappeared from the top of the statue's fingertips. Naruto and his team were currently running through the trees of Hino Kuni, Fire Country, to accomplish their mission. Naruto knew that they only had to check the edge of Hino Kuni, but Naruto decided to go find Mei and tell her his plans. It would give Naruto an even better chance of ending Konoha since Kiri was known for their swordsman, though Naruto already knew that. Naruto turned his head to the back and looked at his companions who were going at a steady pace behind him. Naruto faced back forward and decided to give his orders. Alright you guys, we are nearing the edge of Konoha and we will cross into waves soon enough. Let's hurry and finish this mission, Naruto ordered. Everyone nodded fast before they concentrated chakra to their feet and shot off towards their destination. Zabuza, Haku, Kin and Yagura were currently traveling through the trees with their mission from Naruto buried deep into their minds. Zabuza, being the leader of the mission, turned to Kin for some insight on the place they were going to. So Kin, is Otogakure a strong country? Zabuza asked her. Kin narrowed her eyes, which made her think over Zabuza's question for a little bit. Haku and Yagura turned to her with the same question in mind. Everyone knew they were immortal, but the fun of fighting people who figured they had a shot only for it to end in despair was too much fun to pass up for everyone. Kin came out of her thinking and turned to Zabuza with a look of indifference on her face. Based on the invasion, I would guess not, but most of their more powerful shinobi weren't there since they had Suna backing them up. One of my friends is there also, along with 4 others. They were all used as Orochimaru's playthings and were given a type of curse mark on their bodies. I don't know all the details, but it brings out the best abilities in a person. They attain the chakra and power of low to high Junin level people. The downside is that it corrupts the soul, but I think that since Orochimaru is dead from Naruto-kun and Anko, then the mark might be gone now. Other than them, I don't know of any more significant people, Kin told Zabuza. The man narrowed his eyes, but nodded after Kin's assessment. After a while, Zabuza gave a smirk and cracked his knuckles. I got to remember to thank the Gaki for this mission, Zabuza said, which caused Haku and Kin to snicker and Yagura to give a small, but assuring smile. All 4 continued to run to Oto to fulfill Naruto's goal as they vanished from the trees. Minato and Kushina were just outside Wave Country looking around the town in silence, but it didn't last long since Kushina sighed and rubbed the back of her head in some slight frustration. Minato turned to his ex-wife and gave a small smile trying to find out what was wrong. What the matter, Kushina? Minato asked her. Kushina stared off to the side and saw a small civilian family pass and closed her eyes, then leaned back on a wall. I'm wondering why we're all the way out here. I mean, we did it, so why are we out here again? Kushina asked a bit rhetorically, but Minato didn't know that and decided to answer her question. Isn't it to not arouse suspicion of Naruto-kun and our actions? Minato asked. Kushina gave a simple shrug and turned back to Minato. Let's go back. We've been here over a day and there's nothing interesting going on here, Kushina said to the Yondaime. Minato nodded as they disappeared from their spots so they could report their progress to Sarutobi. Both walked along the bridge completely aware of someone watching them, but paid the presence no mind since it disappeared from their senses. It seems that someone gonna be snooping around after today, Kushina said, to which Minato nodded with a small chuckle and turned his head slightly to the right to where the last known location of the chakra signature was. How freaked do you think he'll be when he learns I'm alive? Minato asked the hot red head next to him. Kushina chuckled as she took one of her swords and twirled it in her hands while the two walked along the bridge. He might die from the shock or he might really wage war on Konoha for this, Kushina stated with a shrug of her shoulders. Minato sighed with a nod and grabbed Kushina as they two disappeared in the horizon. Minato appeared in front of the house with Kushina as the woman turned to him. You were quite eager to get back home, Kushina said while Minato laughed a little bit, but helped Kushina to her feet as both entered the compound. I didn't feel like walking, Minato simply said, which made Kushina shake her head in some small disappointment. Both entered the house to see Tsunade and Fu on the couch talking before bring their attention to them. Well, it's good to see a familiar face again, Kushina said as Tsunade shot up and ran towards Kushina and Minato. Tsunade gave Kushina a good hug as Kushina felt her bones beginning to snap. It's good to see you, Kushina, Tsunade said as she squeezed a little tighter. Kushina gasped with a strained nod and patted Tsunade's back. Must breathe, Kushina attempted to say, which caused Minato to hold his stomach while laughing at Kushina's misfortune. Tsunade gasped and let go as Kushina dropped to the floor while taking in some of the much-needed oxygen that was meant for human survival. Sorry about that, Kushina, but I couldn't resist, Tsunade said while Kushina's breathing slowed and formed a smile on her face. Kushina quickly got to her feet and gave Tsunade the same hug as Tsunade gasped from the strength Kushina still had. It's good to see you too, Tsunade, Kushina said after letting Tsunade and chuckled from watching the slug princess maintain her balance from Kushina's hug. Tsunade gave a small smile, but turned her gaze to see Minato slowly creeping away to his room. Minato, get back here and let me see your face, Tsunade yelled as Minato ran off, not wanting to experience Kushina's pain for himself. Tsunade chased Minato around the house while Kushina and Fu greeted each other, then sipping some tea as they watched Tsunade chase Minato around the compound. Minato Namikaze is known for his Hiraishin jutsu, right? Fu asked. Kushina nodded absently while Fu raised an eyebrow at the Sannin chasing the fourth Hokage. Why doesn't he use it? No. Fu asked, which caused Kushina to shrug her shoulders at the question. Maybe he's too scared and doesn't remember it now, Kushina responded, to which Fu chuckled then laughed as Tsunade finally caught Minato and gave him the same hug, causing Minato some intense pain as he felt his bones crack from the pressure. Ah! Minato yelled as Kushina and Fu rolled on the floor laughing. Naruto and the rest of his team were in the middle of Wave Country and decided to have a short break before continuing since it was close to nighttime. Naruto turned to see everyone waiting for his orders, which caused the blonde Hanyu to look around the town for a little bit. Naruto's eyes spotted a hotel and smiled as he turned back to his teammates. Alright, we'll stop here for today. We will make a fresh start early tomorrow. Let's go into that hotel for tonight. I'll put us all up for some rooms, Naruto told them. Shizune, Hiba, and Kurenai nodded, but the Anbu stayed silent as Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Yano, I'd like some communication from all of my teammates, Neko-san. I don't know if you're the strong silent type or you're mute, but would you give me some form of communication? Naruto asked the purple-haired Anbu. Neko sighed under her mask at having pushy blondes for leaders. I don't really care where we stay. Can we just get a move on now? The cat mask-wearing woman stated. Naruto narrowed his eyes while Kurenai and Kiba had confused expressions on their faces, but Shizune had a small smile on her face for an unknown reason. Naruto sighed, but nodded as the group came into the hotel entrance. Naruto made his way to the counter when a woman came. "Hello, how may I help you?" the woman asked Naruto. He gave the woman a small smile which caused her to blush at his defined face and seemingly toned body. "Hi, I'd like 3 twin rooms. Do you have any available?" Naruto asked her. The woman checked her book, took out her book, and glanced through all the available rooms before closing it and turning back to the blonde handsome boy in front of her. "Sorry, we only have 2 rooms left. We don't have anything else, so would you like those?" the woman asked. Naruto turned back to his teammates to see everyone waiting in some chairs. He decided to take the rooms since he didn't know if the Neko Anbu could keep up with them all night and didn't want to risk it. Something about her piqued Naruto's interest, though he wasn't sure what it was. Naruto paid for the room and was given 5 keys before motioning for his team to follow him. Everyone came up the hotel to their numbers as Naruto turned to them. "Alright, we only have 2 rooms, so 3 of us are going to be sharing 1 room. So who's going to share with me and Shizune-chan?" Naruto asked them. Everyone chuckled as Naruto had already chosen Shizune to be in his room. Those left were Kiba, Kurenai and Neko-san, but one of them shrugged and came to Naruto's side. "I guess I will. Either that or me. Neko-san and Kiba sleep in the same room," Kurenai said to him. Naruto turned to Kiba, who shrugged his shoulders, not really caring one way or the other if there was 1 or 2 people to sleep with. Everyone took a minute of silence, but Neko came up and put her key in the lock to Naruto and Shizune's room. "Let's just get this night over with. It's like Naruto-san said, we have to leave early tomorrow, so let's get to bed," she said to them. Everyone chuckled while Kiba and Kurenai came close to Naruto for a question. "So Naruto, why are we going to Kiri?" Kiba asked, with Kurenai thinking the same question. Naruto turned to Shizune, who was about to ask for the same question, but smiled and rubbed the back of his head. "I'm going to have Mei-chan cancel the treaty I wanted her to sign with Konoha," Naruto told them. Everyone gave a confused look as to his actions for doing that of all things and wanted some answers. "But why? Are we just going to let them know that they don't need to sign the treaty with us and that's it?" Kurenai asked. Naruto shook his head and grinned as he brought them a little closer. He then closed his eyes, which surprised everyone before they heard him telepathically. "No, Kurenai-chan. Remember when I had Zabuza, Haku, Kin, and Yagura go off on one of my missions? Yes, you told them it was really important and we saw them leave earlier this morning. What are you planning?" Naruto smirked since he knew, with his senses, that Neko was eavesdropping. Naruto continued the telepathy with Kurenai, Shizune, and Kiba, deciding to answer Kurenai's question. "We're going to take over Otogakure. Since Orochimaru and Kabuto are taking a dirt nap, I think the people over there need a good lesson in obeying others." Shizune gave a soft chuckle along with Kiba and Kurenai when they heard Naruto's plan. Naruto was making a valid point. Oto would be theirs and they would have more allies. Considering the current situation that Oto was already in, they would really be looking forward to having a leader again. "Wow, Naruto-kun, how brilliant you are. I love this plan of yours. So what are we going to do with Neko-san?" Shizune asked telepathically, wondering what Naruto's answer would be. Naruto, visibly, turned to Kurenai as he knew she could help them out with their Anbu companion. "Kurenai-chan, by any chance do you know Neko-san?" "Yes, I do. Her real name is Yugo Azuki. Forgive her for her strict attitude, Naruto-kun, but she lost her lover during the Chunin exams, so she's been doing mission after mission to forget her troubles. In addition to that, there is her Anbu duties, which require a person to harden their emotions to do their work. I'm sure that's why she's like this. She talks with me, Hana, and Anko, but not too much. We're still friends nonetheless. If you plan on trying to convince her, then good luck. She really likes to fight with swords, so you might have that over her." "I see. Then you, Kurenai-chan, I'll keep that in mind. Now then, Kiba, you've been somewhat quiet, which isn't really like you at all. What's the problem?" "Kiba. He fell asleep on us. That's just like him. Oh well, let's go to bed, but before that." Naruto opened his eyes and lunged for Kurenai, who was surprised, but moaned slightly when she felt Naruto give a small bite to her neck. Kurenai widened her eye as a fox mark appeared on her lower back. Kurenai's ears disappeared and were replaced with fox ears on top of her head. A small crimson tail appeared from behind and swayed around gently. Meanwhile, Yugo felt a sudden chakra increase which seemed unnaturally high. It felt so heavy, like the pressure of an S-rank shinobi. Yugo unsheathed her sword fast and tried to find the source of the chakra, but the air was too heavy. What is this power? It feels insane. Is a cage here? Yugo wondered as she was about to find the source, but it soon vanished like it was never there in the first place. Yugo felt around, but couldn't find anything. It almost baffled her as to why a chakra source so large could disappear into thin air. Yugo slowly stopped feeling tense, but got her guard back up when she saw the doorknob rattling. Yugo prepared her sword for a quick strike, but stopped when she saw Naruto and Shizune enter the room. Naruto gave her a confused look, though he knew what was bugging her. What's up with you? You look like you're about to cut someone into little pieces, Naruto said as Yugo blushed in embarrassment of her actions. Naruto and Shizune chuckled and turned back to see Kurenai on the floor with a smile on her at feeling of being a Hanyu like everyone else. Well, nearly everyone else. Kurenai-chan, how long are you going to sit on the floor in that daze? Naruto asked her. Kurenai grinned, but got up and dusted her clothes off while she put up her key to the door and dragged Kiba inside with an air kiss to Naruto as a goodnight. Naruto grinned, but turned back to Yugo who had her cat mask on the table next to her bed. Naruto stared at Yugo's lovely face. It seems to be like the face of an angel to him. Though Naruto found it ironic that an immortal half-demon would fall for an angel. It seemed unrealistic to him, but he didn't mind it too much. He liked that simple way of thinking. Naruto closed the door to the room and unsealed his clothes along with Shizune's clothes. Naruto took his night clothes and went into the bathroom to change while Shizune stayed outside with Yugo to change their clothes. Well, Shizune did anyway. Yugo stayed in her Anbu outfit and laid on the comfortable bed then went to sleep. Shizune chuckled as she found Yugo's attitude to be a little funny, but simply changed into a dark one-piece nightgown and laid on her bed. Naruto came out in a short-sleeve shirt and black boxers with orange stripes with a smile to see Shizune scoot over for him to rest. Naruto laid on the bed with Shizune and turned out the light causing everyone to finally go to sleep. Zabuza's team made it to Odo when they saw that it was dark and wondered how long they had been running at the normal pace. Haku and Yagura too in the sight of Odo and it looked a little shaky, but they figured it was better than it looked as the four descended into the village. Kin felt a feeling of nostalgia from the place which nearly made her chakra flare in anger of the messed up life she had. Well, there is the Otokage mansion, Kin said pointing to the large building. Zabuza narrowed his eyes while Haku and Yagura stayed in the shadows of the houses and buildings to avoid the civilians and shinobi there. So what happens now? Yagura asked them. Zabuza sighed as everyone saw Genin, Chunin, and Jonin-level people throughout the crowd. Zabuza's eyes glared hard, but a smile came across his face as he turned back to his teammates. Well, we would need a distraction. It doesn't matter who goes as I doubt we'll lose thanks to the training the Gaki put us all through. I've spared nearly every day with Yagura. Kin, you and Haku have spared together also and I know you wouldn't lose to anyone, easily anyway. So who wants to be the distraction? Zabuza asked them. Kin, Haku and Yagura glared at each other, but smiled as Haku stepped up and took off her headband then sealed it into her scroll. I guess I'll have some fun, Haku said, but paused as she felt an hand on her shoulder. Haku turned her head, but smiled as she saw it was Kin holding her shoulder. Now Haku, I can't let you have all the fun. I'm gonna help you out cause I am such a kind and caring girl, Kin said to which Haku raised an eyebrow at that statement of hers. I never would have guessed, Haku said lowly before receiving a glare from Kin. What was that Haku-san? Kin asked in a mock serious tone. Haku chuckled, but waved her hand that it didn't mean anything. Kin released Haku's shoulder as the two female Hanyu turned to Zabuza and Yagura. Alright then, Yagura and I will go to the Otokage mansion. We might even find some of Orochimaru's notes on his hidden locations, Zabuza said as he and Yagura vanished from sight. Haku did a simple stretch while Kin cracked her knuckles and her neck. Both feeling relaxed enough, Haku formed 6 ice Senbon between her fingers and Kin took out 6 Odo Senbon. Kin took off her headband and sealed it also while the girls came out in the open. Ready, Kin? Haku asked her. Kin smirked and took a breath of air. Feeling real good right now, Kin responded. I was born ready, Haku. Let's make this place a new Otogakur for Naruto-kun, Kin said with an evil grin as Haku nodded and gave the same grin. Haku went through her hand signs fast and slammed her hands on the ground. Hyoten. Hisatsu Hyaso, ice release. Certain kill ice spears, Haku yelled as she made a massive number of ice spikes appear from the ground, destroying the nearby houses and shop around them, which had the instant effect of people screaming and running away. Kin smirked as she ran up to some of the people and began to pick them off like flies. They both got their desired reaction when they were immediately surrounded by multiple Oto shinobi with kunai in their hands. Surrender, both of you. You're outnumbered and you're surrounded. If you come quietly, then we will find good uses for pretty girls such as yourself, one of the Jonin said with a perverted smirk. Haku turned to Kin, who had a smile across her face as Haku turned back to the shinobi around them. Do you think we're surrounded, Kin? Haku asked. Kin scoffed, but grinned as she went through her hand signs fast so that they couldn't be seen and slammed her hands on the ground. Nope. All I see is a simple road block. Doden. Shikyu o Musabori, earth release. Devouring earth, Kin yelled as the ground began to shake. Everyone gasped as they saw the earth rise and form jaws that devoured everyone near Kin and Haku and sent the earth crashing back down. Kin got up and simply wiped her brow from a small bead of sweat that came across her forehead. Road block cleared, Haku, Kin said while Haku nodded. Both continued their stalling as they got more and more shinobi who were stupid enough to try and challenge them. It was close still early that night, but Yugo couldn't go to sleep. She was too anxious for some reason. She didn't know why, but she felt a little frustrated. To everyone, she was always frustrated, but it seemed to have more of an effect tonight. She really didn't know why. Yugo soon heard whispering from the other bed when she heard Naruto and Shizune talking. Shizune-chan, why you can't? Yugo is sleeping in the same room as us, Naruto said with a low groan as he felt Shizune's legs rub against his raging hard-on. Shizune smirked as she got her desired reaction from Naruto while her movements increased. Exactly, Naruto-kun, she's sleeping. Plus you haven't give it to me in a while. So why not now? Shizune asked as she turned to face Naruto before using her soft hands to rub his. Naruto gave a low groan as he tried to stay quiet and would rather not explain this situation to the cat mask wearing Anbu. Shizune continued to give Naruto a handjob until she went under the covers and began to suck him off. Naruto twitched as he felt Shizune's soft, wet tongue on his. Shizune bobbed her head fast, not giving Naruto the time to keep up any resistance as she used another hand to play with his balls. Shizune-chan, it feels good, Naruto said, still trying to quiet, but was nearly failing. The scent in the air was intoxicating for Yugo as she felt some small resurfacing of the woman inside her arise. Yugo cursed her luck of rooming with the couple who were letting their hormones take over. Yugo felt one of her hands moving to her covered since she was still in her Anbu uniform. Yugo came a soft squeeze through the uniform, heating up her body after hearing Naruto's moans. Man, I can't control my body. I feel so hot right now, Yugo said as she tried to resist the urge to go through anything else. Shizune soon appeared from under the covers and leaned against Naruto, bringing his close to her wet nether lips. Come on, Naruto-kun. Shove you stick into me. I promise not to be too loud, Shizune said to him. Naruto sighed, but smiled as he wrapped his hands around Shizune's hips and plunged into her slit. Shizune stifled a moan by biting into the covers of the bed as Naruto rocked his hips back and forth, giving Shizune the time of her life. Yugo's resolve was weakening and fast from the stifled moans that Naruto and Shizune were making. Damn it, why should they do this now? They couldn't wait till after the mission to go at it like rabbits in the field. Yugo wondered as the moans got louder, but only for a second. Naruto and Shizune by this time knew Yugo wasn't sleeping since they felt her chakra flare then settle then flare back up in a small pattern. I think she hears us. MMMPH Kami, it feels so good, Shizune said silently. Naruto nodded that he knew as his high came along with Shizune's as Naruto gritted his teeth. Shizune-chan, I'm coming, Naruto said as he sent his load into Shizune's womb. Shizune came also as she drenched Naruto's with her wet juices. Naruto kept his inside her for a while so the cum wouldn't fall to the bed. It's so hot inside me, Shizune said with a smile while her eyes dozed off, causing her to fall asleep. Naruto chuckled as he snuggled up against Shizune while pulling his out, which gained him a small moan from Shizune. Naruto closed his eyes also, but opened them fast when he heard the door open then close behind him. Naruto grinned and kissed Shizune's cheek before getting up, putting on some clothes and exiting the room also. Yugo exited the hotel and walked into the forest as she took out her sword and began to go through some random katas while trying to vent some anger. She was now beyond frustrated. Yugo didn't know what it was that made her so damn irritated, but she kept feeling bitter towards anything and anyone. She remembered the time she actually snapped at her commanding officer, however she had quickly apologized for that incident, though why she did the reason still escapes her. Why am I so frustrated? So they had while I was in the room. It's their lives, I guess. I can't tell them to sleep or not to sleep with each other. It's not my business what the hell they do. So why am I so damn mad? Yugo wondered as she swung with too much power and decimated a nearby tree. Yugo sighed and leaned into an open space while looking up at the moon and the stars. Hayate, why did you have to die? Why did you leave me alone? Yugo asked while she kept her gaze on the moon. So that's the reason you're so bitter, someone said, bringing Yugo out of her silence to see Naruto leaning on a tree. Yugo narrowed her eyes and turned her gaze from Naruto with a huff. Naruto chuckled, but walked up to Yugo and sat next to her. Yugo could have told him to beat it since she really didn't feel like talking, but she didn't want to be alone either, so she chose the latter. I don't mean to be bitter. I'm just frustrated, Yugo stated while Naruto leaned on the grassy field with his eyes on the stars. Naruto kept silent for a bit to gather his thoughts on the conversation that he was about to start with the Anbu captain. Yugo found the silence to be rather nerve-wracking since she felt weird for not wanting to talk, but wanting a response to her statement. Maybe it's frustration piled along with grief, Naruto finally said, causing Yugo to blush from his answer. Yugo swiftly stood to her feet and brought her gaze down to Naruto, who was still laying in the grass. What brought you to that conclusion? Yugo asked with a bit of nervousness in her speak, which Naruto didn't miss. Naruto twisted his head to meet Yugo's intense gaze. It's kinda obvious once you think about it. Though I don't need to tell you this since you know I'm right, Naruto said as he stood to his feet. Yugo narrowed her eyes at him and mentally cursed that he was right, though she wouldn't dare admit it to the 13-year-old hanged Naruto. I think you need to stop being a pervert and go back to your room since you said we have to leave early, Yugo said. Try to find some way for Naruto to leave. Naruto smirked and closed the distance between him and Yugo as the Anbu unconsciously backed away from his pacing steps. Yugo-chan, you didn't refute my statement, Naruto simply said as Yugo widened her eyes at the revelation. Yugo continued to back away from Naruto, though she didn't know why since she was an Anbu and he was a fresh Jonin. I don't to refute your statement cause I know you're wrong, Yugo said while Naruto gave her a soft smile and lowered his eyes. Did Shizune-chan and I get you that excited? Naruto asked her. Yugo blushed and averted her gaze from Naruto since she wasn't sure how to counter that question. Naruto grinned as Yugo backed into a tree with Naruto closing in on her. Yugo gasped as Naruto came up close to her face and placed a finger under her chin. If you're thinking that you would betray Hayate-san by finding someone else, then you need to ask yourself if Hayate-san would want you to be alone, frustrated, and miserable, Naruto told her. Yugo kept silent as Naruto moved his lips to hers. Yugo felt she couldn't move until she felt Naruto's soft lips over hers. Yugo felt Naruto's tongue intrude into her mouth while she felt a great deal of warmth from them. Naruto backed away slowly, allowing Yugo to process the action, and backed away. Well, it's your life. If you want to end up alone, I won't stop you, Naruto simply said and began to walk away. Yugo stayed on the tree branch for a bit before unsheathing her sword and charged at Naruto. Naruto sighed as he made a swift motion with his own sword and knocked the blade from Yugo's hand and placed his own at her throat, surprising the Anbu captain. Mourning for the dead is good and all, but let if obsess your life and you are nothing, but person who can't live their life, Naruto said while he withdrew his sword from her throat and walked away. Yugo looked at the ground and silently cried as Naruto leaned on the back of a tree. I'm sorry, Yugo-chan, but you need to realize that fact now, Naruto said before disappearing to go back to the hotel room. Haku and Kin grinned as hundreds of fallen shinobi laid before them. People backed away from them in fear as they advanced to the cowering shinobi who were beginning to see how futile their attempts were. Ah, come on, we're not done yet. I haven't broken a sweat yet, Kin said while Haku chuckled at her. Come on, let's have some more fun. Of course you people could just surrender to us now, but either way, we will win, Haku said to everyone. Most of the genin and shunin and a few jonin began to surrender and even bow, but were killed by some kunai and shuriken. Man, everyone here is so weak. They can't handle two puny-looking girl. A fat man said. Two other men appeared with one having 2 heads and the other having 6 arms. It looks like the circus is in town, Haku-chan, Kin said, to which Haku nodded with a laugh. The 3 men narrowed their eyes at Haku and Kin before coming to the nearly destroyed streets of Odo. Kin instantly recognized all of them since she had seen them on multiple occasions. The one on the right was Sakin, the one in the center was Jirobo, and the one of the left was Kitamaru. Kin really never liked them. They were always too arrogant since they became a part of Orochimaru's boy toy collection. Hey, I remember you. You're that bitch that left us for Konoha, Sakin said to Kin. Kin smirked with a bow to the 3 men who gasped. Kin Tsuchi, Shunin of Konoha. Nice to meet you, you pieces of trash, Kin told them. Haku stifled a laugh while Jirobo seethed at the 2 girls while Kitamaru stepped forward. Orochimaru-sama has been worried about you, Kin. He'll be happy to know that you came back. Once he comes back we will have a most fitting punishment for you, the 6-armed man said to her. Kin rolled her eyes and turned to Haku. Do you think Naruto-kun needs these 3 for allies? Kin asked her. Haku adopted a thinking pose for a second, but shrugged her shoulders. I don't think so. Besides, you said your friend would be more than willing to come with us once they hear the news, so they're the only people I really care about finding at the moment, Haku said as Sakin, Jirobo, and Kitamaru narrowed their eyes at being ignored by the 2 girls. Both girls finished their talk and turned back to the 3 guys across from them. All right, boys. This is your once and final chance to dance with the ladies in front of you, Kin told them. All 3 men laughed at Kin as she wondered what was so funny. You're right, Kin. It will be the last time you see our faces again, Jirobo said as he charged at Kin. Haku stepped back slightly while Kin unhinged her fox ears. The ears moved in all directions before moving to the front as Kin's pupils became slitted. Kin smirked as she kicked Jirobo in the stomach, sending the fat man into a nearby building. Sakin and Kitamaru widened their eyes and turned to Kin, who had a smile on her face as she drew her leg back. All right then. Would anyone else care to try us? Kin asked as she and Haku assumed their fighting stances. Sakin and Kitamaru assumed their own as they made it their personal mission not to let the girls leave Odo alive. In Konoha, the moon was in full bloom around the village as the place was dark and people were all sleeping in their homes, well, almost all the people. 2 shadows ran across the rooftops and ended on the road that led to the gates of Konoha. Sasuke-kun, are you ready to go? Sakura asked with her backpack on her back while see the love of her life walking with a smug look on his face. Yeah, Sakura. I have nearly all the scrolls one needed from the Uchiha clan compound. Remember, Sakura, we are on a mission to obtain power, by any cost, Sasuke said to her. Sakura nodded as the 2 walked to the gates. I understand, Sasuke-kun. We will finish our ambitions and we will then show our power to that demon and his bitch, Sakura said as the 2 passed the gates. Sasuke and Sakura leapt to the trees and ran as fast as they could away from their former home. Both appeared on a hill quite a distance away and looked at the village in front of them. No turning back now, Sasuke-kun, Sakura said to him. Sasuke nodded, but turned to her. You scared? He asked her. Sakura shook her head in an absolute negative. I regret nothing, Sasuke-kun. Let's get out of here, Sasuke told him. Sasuke nodded immediately as they left the hill and headed off to who knows where, not caring where they went, only caring for the way to power at any cost. Naruto and the other woke up early with just enough time to see that sun beginning to rise over the horizon. He slowly turned his gaze to see that Yugo wasn't in her bed and sighed, thinking she had been out all night. Naruto saw Shizune waking up with him while her tail slightly swayed around. Naruto sighed and touched Shizune's shoulder, bringing the raven-haired beauty to his presence. Shizune, maybe you should henge that tail. With the power you have, I think you scared Yugo away, Naruto said, chuckling at the thought of an Anbu fleeing from a massive chakra source. Shizune turned her head to see that tail moving around and blushed with a nod. After making the tail vanish, Shizune and Naruto had a quick shower and changed back into their regular clothes for their mission. Naruto opened the door and escorted Shizune out to see that Kurenai and Kiba walked out also at basically the same time. Wow, it makes me wonder if we woke up at the same time, Kiba said with a slight yawn. Naruto shrugged his shoulder while Kurenai looked inside the vacant room. Naruto, where is Yugo? She asked a little worried. Naruto sighed and rubbed the back of his head, not being able to answer that question, but decided to simply get it over with. Well, Kurenai-chan, we had a small talk last night and I don't know where she is right now, though we can all check, Naruto said, revealing his fox ears. Naruto closed his eyes for a few seconds while the group watched his ears move in all directions before stopping at a specific spot. Found her. It seems she's training right now. Either that or she's really pissed since she's cutting off trees, Naruto said while everyone chuckled. Naruto sighed and turned back to everyone else. Alright guys, I'll go get Yugo-chan. Shizune, you take Kurenai and Kiba to Kiri. Yugo and I will catch up with you guys, Naruto told her. Shizune nodded while the three walked off. Naruto watched them disappear before teleporting to Yugo's location. Kin and Haku were still having their fun with three of the Sound Ninja 4 who seemed a bit worse for wear. Kin cracked her neck and her knuckles waiting of either of the three to come charging at her again. How the hell is this bitch so strong? Sakin asked as he covered for his left arm that had been shattered by one of Kin's punches. Kitamura wasn't doing any better as he had bruises all over his body. Jirobo cursed since he wondered just how powerful Kin had gotten over the short time she had been gone. Kin advanced towards the three men while giving a weird and twisted smile. I hope you're not done. I've faced a lot of abuse from you guys and I've come to collect on that suffering. So get up and fight me right now so I can break your necks in half, Kin said as the guys steadily rose to their feet. Kin chuckled while Haku leaned on the side of a destroyed building simply watching her raven-haired companion. Haku was simply twirling an ice sanbon with a bored look on her face as she watched Kin toy with the guys. Kin, don't you think they've lived long enough? I mean, come on, they're wasting precious air, Haku said, keeping up her bored look. Kin chuckled, then fake pouted and turned to Haku in some childish tone. Aw, come on Haku. It's just starting to fun, Kin said, but she was suddenly launched through the air into a building, causing it to crash into the ground. Haku raised an eyebrow and turned her head to see Jirobo with a smirk on his face. Take that, bitch. You let your guard down. Now I'm gonna take care of your little friend here, Jirobo said while his gaze turned to Haku. Sakin and Kitamura got their second wind and began to feel that they had a chance as they neared Haku. Haku sighed before turning her gaze to Kin, who was emerging from the rubble without a scratch on her body, which astounded the three. Man, some people have no respect. Here I am trying to talk and he tries to hit me. What is the world coming to? Kin asked before lunging at Jirobo. Jirobo, being heavy, couldn't dodge in time as Kin pierced his stomach with her hand. Sakin and Kitamura gasped as the blood dripped across Kin's hand. Kin gave a foxy grin showing her canines while Jirobo slumped to the ground. Kin smirked as she slowly took out her hand from the fat man's stomach, causing the man to nearly scream out in pain. When Kin took out her hand, Jirobo fell to the ground while placing his hands at the hole in his stomach. Damn bitch. You won't get away with this. Orochimaru-sama will avenge us and you will be left as ashes to the wind, Jirobo said while Kin sharpened her claws. Sakin and Kitamura tried to interfere, but were stopped by Haku as they could only watch when Kin slashed Jirobo's throat, causing the rest of his blood to slosh out as he hit the floor lifeless. Haku smirked as Kin held up her hand and gave it a small lick. This blood is cold. It's got no feeling to it at all. Maybe these guys are different, Kin said as she neared Sakin and Kitamura. Both backed away from the insane-looking girl and mentally cursed that their curse marks were gone. As they backed away, Sakin bumped into Haku, who had her hair covering her eyes. Well, looks like you guys have no more reasons to be alive, Haku said, planting a sanbon in Kitamura's throat. Kitamura gasped and fell to the floor while Kin slashed Sakin's throat, causing both Oto Nin to hit the floor. Kin chuckled and swatted the blood from her hand while Haku retrieved her senbon from Kitamaru's throat. I've always wanted to do that to them. Damn pricks always thought they were high and mighty. Well, I showed them. Come on. Tayuya is probably somewhere around here. Let's get her and get start the panic in this place. Naruto-kun has his sights on this place, and who are we to disappoint him? Kin asked with an innocent smile. Haku chuckled with a nod as they two girls disappeared from view, leaving the bodies of 3 sound nin on the road. Meanwhile, Sasuke and Sakura had just made it out of Konoha and were quite a distance away from the pathetic village. Sakura, thanks to her training, managed to keep up with Sasuke as the two ran off to find their way to Oto. Both knew that Sarutobi might have already sent a recovery team after them, but they didn't care. Both knew how to fight very well, unless against 2 other people, so they could look after themselves. So Sasuke-kun, how long till we're out of Hi-no-Kuni? Sakura asked him. Sasuke smirked and took out a small map of the surrounding borders. Sakura peeked over his shoulder while Sasuke pointed to a small spot. We are right here now. We have about another 3 hours. We've been running all night, so it shouldn't be long now. Let's hurry up before we have some insects to deal with, Sasuke told her. Sakura nodded as they too picked up their stuff and ran off, leaving no trail behind them. So Sasuke-kun, I remember from Kakashi that if you went to Orochimaru, he would try and take your body to gain the Sharingan. What are you going to do in that time? Sakura asked him. Sasuke narrowed his eyes while looking forward before turning back to Sakura. Until that time, I'm going to get all the training I can from his, and then I am going to end him. He'll never be able to possess by sacred dojutsu. I won't turn over my revenge for anything. You said you wanted revenge too. Then train Sakura and show the people who killed your mother no mercy when you confront them, Sasuke spoke. Sakura instantly scowled at the thought of the damned person who killed her mother. Sakura clenched her fists tightly until blood dripped from her hands. I'll kill them. Whoever did this to my mother, I'm going to kill them without mercy, Sasuke-kun, Sakura said, which made the last Uchiha smile. Maybe being this girl's boyfriend wasn't such a bad thought after all. She certainly knew how to be dramatic in that sense. She seemed to be the girl version of him now. Well then, Sakura, let's go and get that power that will make all the nations bow before us. I'll personally make that Dobi bow before his superior, Sasuke said while Sakura gave a hidden grin. And I'll make his bitch bow before me. The only thing she is fit to do is lick my sandals, Sakura said as the two shot off. After about 15 minutes of running, Sasuke and Sakura came to an open plain where they saw a man with white hair and the standard white shirt and blue pants with a purple belt typed in a knot. Are you Sasuke Uchiha? He asked. Sasuke narrowed his eyes at the man, but didn't cower and stepped forward with a smug grin on his face. I am. Are you from Orochimaru? Sasuke asked the man. That's right. I'm Kimimaro. Orochimaru-sama has requested that I bring you to Oto. He has gone in search of Tsunade Senju, but hasn't returned yet. I'm sure he will be back shortly. Who is the woman with you? He asked the Uchiha. Sakura stepped forward and gave a confident smile that made Sasuke raise an eyebrow, but he didn't say anything. I'm Sakura Haruno. I've left the village with Sasuke-kun in search of power. I take it you can put me through some rigorous training to bring out my power. I will use it to end the life of someone who deserves to be dead, Sakura said in a tone that made Kimimaro shudder slightly as he looked at the two kids. They didn't seem to be all talk, but they did seem a little dark, just perfect for Orochimaru to have for a host body. All right, let's go. I'll escort you both to Oto immediately, Kimimaro said as the three left as fast as they came. So how long till we're out of Hi-no-Kuni? Sakura asked one more time to be certain. In another 2 hours or so. Come on, we don't have the time to slow down, Sakura, Sasuke said to her. Sakura nodded as the three ran off through the trees. Naruto managed to find Yugo in time and continued to watch her train for a while. Naruto admired her kenjutsu forms and the power behind each technique. She would make a perfect ally and mate if not for some of that snobby attitude that so many Anbu possessed, but it was probably unavoidable. Naruto knew what that kind of work was like. He had done it multiple times in the future, but the job never really got to him like it did with most people. Maybe Yugo was just venting some type of frustration. Naruto was suddenly brought out of his stupor when he saw a sword pass by him, grazing his cheek and sticking to a tree. Naruto smirked as he wiped a small trail of blood from his cheek while seeing the Anbu's hard gaze on him. I could write you up for endangerment to your superior officer, Naruto said as he came down from the tree. Yugo scoffed as she appeared behind Naruto with her sword at his throat. Don't you think I'm the superior here? She asked with a small grin. Naruto gave a sly grin and turned his head slightly to see Yugo with the smile on her face. It was a new expression to Naruto, but it certainly wasn't a bad one. Nope, I'm still the superior. Simply because, you're surrounded, Naruto said to her. Before Yugo realized it, she really was surrounded by 12 cage buncheons of Naruto, each with its own sword aimed at a specific point on her body. Yugo turned her head to Naruto, who still had a smile on his face. Unfortunately for him, Yugo was a Kenjutsu master and quickly disposed of every clone near her. I'm not an Anbu captain for nothing, Naruto-san. I'm your superior on and off the battlefield. You should remember that, Yugo said while Naruto laughed, which caused her to raise an eyebrow at him. Naruto instantly disappeared in a flash of yellow lightning and appeared behind a surprised Yugo with his sword at her throat. Lowering your guard isn't like an Anbu captain, Yugo-chan. It could mean the difference between life and death. I sure you know that, Naruto said as Yugo brought her finger to the tip of Naruto's blade. I didn't know you had a sword, Naruto-san, let alone knew the Hiraishin of the Yondaime, Yugo said, giving Naruto a suspicious look. Naruto smirked and leaned his head on Yugo's shoulder, causing the purple-haired woman to slightly blush even if Naruto didn't see it. Oh, I thought Anbu knew all sorts of things. Apparently, Hokage Gigi didn't tell you that I'm the Yondaime's son. I've got the compound now also. Then there is the Kenjutsu. Well, let's just say that I've always been interested in the multiple uses of a sword such as mine, Naruto told her. Yugo raised an eyebrow at the way Naruto said that, but didn't pay it much mind. So Yugo-chan, when did you start to get into the flirting game? Naruto asked her. Yugo's blush deepened, though only slightly, as she turned to face Naruto, who had the biggest grin across his face. It slightly irritated Yugo that maybe he was right about the flirting thing. Maybe she was unconsciously flirting. Naruto-san, I have no idea what you're talking about. You're far too young for me. What makes you think you have a shot with me? Yugo asked him. Naruto smirked as he adopted a thinking pose for a few minutes as he contemplated on how to answer Yugo's question. Well, Anko-chan, Kurenai-chan, Sung-chan, and Hana-chan don't seem to mind, so I think you're fine if you want to go out with a hot blonde like myself, Naruto said, which made Yugo gasp at the fact that some of her friends dated Naruto, and even more surprising that they never told her about it. Sure, she never asked about their love lives since she didn't want to be reminded that she didn't really have one after Hayate's death. Yugo chuckled and it shortly turned into a laugh that startled the Hanyu. And here I thought the Anbu never laughed, Naruto joked while Yugo turned to him, not being able to get the rare smile off her face. I'm not sure I can ever forget Hayate, but I'm willing to try and find something new. He wouldn't want me to be alone like this working myself to death, Yugo said with a shrug of her shoulders. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the Anbu captain. So I take it you wanna go out with me then? Naruto asked her. Yugo chuckled and turned to face her superior. I suppose I am, though aren't you supposed to ask me out? Yugo asked with a childish joke. Naruto sheepishly chuckled and rubbed the back of his head. Well, if I did, I would have waited when you weren't carrying a deadly weapon in your hand, Naruto said, cautiously staring at the weapon Yugo still had in her hand. Yugo chuckled since she knew he was probably right. Many of the guys who asked her out ended up in the hospital for about 2 weeks, and she was in a good mood when most of those happened. Touché, Naruto-san, but before you even think about dating me, we have a mission to finish, Yugo reminded him. Naruto chuckled, but nodded as he told her that he sent Shizune, Kiba, and Kurenai ahead. After receiving that information, Yugo and Naruto disappeared into the trees in an attempt to catch up to the others. So then, Naruto-san, tell me, how good are you with that sword of yours? Yugo asked with a gleam in her eye that she was ready to bring Naruto down at the earliest convenience. Naruto smirked and decided to tell Yugo about his exploits with his sword while also learning some of her own. Back in Konoha, there was rapid talking at the Namikaze compound as it seemed that Kushina Uzumaki and Makoto Uchiha had finally met. It seemed that both women had missed each other those times and just now realized that the other was back. Makoto already knew Minato was back, but the two didn't really talk much since Kushina was basically their friendship mold. So Makoto, how does it feel to be alive? Kushina asked. Makoto took a sip of some tea and gave a small smile while looking at the cup. Honestly, I don't know. It feels weird to be back here. I have Naruto-kun to thank for it though, Makoto said, surprising Kushina at the words that came out of her mouth. Did you just say, Naruto-kun? Kushina asked, still in complete shock. Makoto blushed and averted Kushina's gaze while she gave a nervous chuckle that Kushina picked up on. Kushina narrowed her eyes at her best friend and placed her hand on Makoto's shoulder. What happened, Mikoto-chan? Kushina asked as her grip tightened. Makoto gulped slowly and turned back to Kushina with a sigh. Well, Naruto-kun made me a new woman and it was one of the best times of my life. Oh, look at the time by Kushina, Makoto quickly said before vanishing in a shunshin, leaving a near irritable Kushina in the room. Kushina breathed a small sigh before summoning her favorite sword to her hands. Kushina slowly stood to her feet and slowly sheathed the metal while admiring it. The Uzumaki woman suddenly took off in an insane dash after her best friend. Makoto, get back here. It won't hurt for long, dattebane. Kushina yelled as he ran after Makoto. While this was going on, Minato was out back training with Sume and Hana since both girls wondered what it would be like to fight the Yondaime. Needless to say, even without the added power that Naruto could give him, Minato was more or less an equal to both the Inuzukas. Well, Minato, you certainly live up to your reputation, Hana said while a smile. Sume nodded while Minato appeared on top of a tree branch along with his three-pronged kunai. Well, ladies, you know. I try, Minato said with a grin. Hana chuckled and disappeared fast behind Minato only for the blonde to vanish in yellow lightning away from the woman. Hana slightly cursed the damned Hiraishin, but knew it was good for getting to opponents faster and ending their lives with her oh-so-sharp claws that just wanted to rip something apart. Minato appeared on the ground with a huff only to dodge a Suga from Sume again while he disappeared into the house, leaving Sume and Hana outside. Minato, get back out here and help us train, damn it. Sume yelled as Minato appeared with a sheepish grin and rubbed the back of his head, which only served to make Hana and Sume remember Naruto and his time with them both. Sorry about that, ladies. Now then, I'll get serious, Minato said as he disappeared while Sume felt a small pain in her side to see Minato had kicked her into a tree and disappeared before pushing a Rasengan into Hana, blasting her a few feet away. Hana smirked and got up with some ripped clothes while Sume softly rubbed her side. That's the way, Minato. Don't hold back on our account, they said as both charged him again. Minato sighed, but kept up his smirk before continuing his training with the two Inuzukas. He had invited Anko to join in the spar, but she couldn't though she wanted to. She had patrol in a few hours and she wanted to spend the few hours resting and relaxing. Anko, stop being lazy and give me some help here, Minato said as he dodged Sume and Hana left and right. Anko chuckled while she read a book on using the best way to make someone scream, cry, or even beg for death by using torture. Coincidentally, it was a book she borrowed from Shizune and began on the series of books also. Some of the things in the book she didn't even know. It was more or less very interesting. Sorry, Yondaime-sama. I'm occupied at the moment and can't lift myself off the couch, Anko said, then laughed when she heard a sigh of frustration from Minato. Anko smirked and smirked, but she ultimately got up and unsheathed her sword before walking towards the training field. Alright then, I guess I can have some fun too, Anko said before charging into the training with all intentions of helping out the ex-Hokage. Haku and Kin continued to hop along the rooftops of Oto while seeing some of the fires blaze around the village. Kin marveled at it all while wondering where the hell Tayuya was. She was Kin's only friend. She had a real mouth, but she was loyal to her friends. Kin didn't want her dying. Not to mention Tayuya needed someone, and who better than Naruto. So Haku, are you ready to enter? We might meet some more people, Kin said to her. Haku smirked with a nod as the two girls entered the building. Alright Kin, you know the layout the best. I'll follow your lead, Haku said as the two girls raced through the building, opening random doors in a hope to find Tayuya. Oto didn't have that many allies, so they didn't have to worry about any reinforcements, not that they could be a problem, but it would be too troublesome to kill every single last one of them. Plus Naruto told them that Odo had something that he wanted, so they very well couldn't completely destroy Odo. Kin opened one door and Haku opened the other, but both still came up with nothing. Alright, let's check the very bottom. Trust me, it goes down a long ways. I'm sure Tayuya is somewhere. She rarely goes out, Kin said as she punched the floor, causing both to fall through the levels of the building. Both girls went down 7th floor until they hit rock bottom with a loud crash. Haku coughed at the excess dust in the air and slightly punched Kin on the arm. Warn someone the next time you do that. Damn, we probably attracted so much attention with your stunt, Haku said with a sigh. Kin chuckled and shrugged her shoulders. Hey, it's an efficient method. Now let's go and find Tayuya, Kin said to Haku, but both suddenly smirked when a shadow came into view. And what do you two shitheads want with me? Someone asked them. Kin smirked while Haku turned her gaze to a redhead woman. Hey Tayuya, I see you've been good, Kin said as Tayuya came into view. Tayuya gasped as she saw Kin in the midst of the rubble. Tayuya ran up to her and suddenly bonked Kin on her head, only getting a chuckle for a response. Damn it, Kin, do you know how worried I was? I had to deal with so much shit that it wasn't even funny. These damn still breathing makes me sick. I just wish I could send this straight to hell, Tayuya said while Kin laughed. Haku, however, was cleaning out her ears from the unnecessary and very unpleasant cussing, but she was a Hanyu who seemed to like killing people, especially Konoha people. Who was she to judge? Who's she? Tayuya asked, pointing to Haku. Kin smirked before releasing Tayuya's hold on her before turning to Haku. This is Haku Momochi. We're here to capture Odo in the name of the Namikaze clan. Tayuya, we want you to join us. Trust me Tayuya, Orochimaru is gone and he is never coming back. Our leader has seen to that, and the rest of this place is going to be Naruto-kun's country, Kin said, never having the smile leave her face. Tayuya dropped her jaw while looking at her friend while she thought the girl was insane. The words, Orochimaru, killed, and never coming back, were all never used in the same sentence before. It seemed more impossible than Tayuya to actually stop cursing, which just wasn't possible. What have you been drinking, Kin, to make you believe that? I've been with Orochimaru all these years and the has never come close to dying, not even once. And this little group you have, I don't know how stronger you got, but your leader must be one hell of a idiot if he thinks he can take Odo, Tayuya said, not noticing the glare she was getting from Haku and Kin. Tayuya, don't you ever talk about Naruto-kun that way. Naruto-kun saved me from this life. Here I will show you something wonderful, Kin said and unhinged her appearance. Tayuya gasped at the fox-looking Kin, but even backed up when she felt the immense chakra she was emitting. It was easily able to rival Orochimaru's. Kin, how in the hell did you get that much power? Tayuya asked her. Kin smirked and hanged her appearance again. It's because of Naruto-kun that I can be this way. He's much more stronger than me that there's no comparison. The only one who could probably rival him is the alpha female of our compound, Shizune Uzumaki Namikaze. Trust me, Kin, Orochimaru is never coming back. Naruto-kun has assured us of that. Haven't you wondered why your curse mark was gone? Kin asked while Tayuya widened her eyes at the revelation. Tayuya absently nodded while Kin placed her hand on Tayuya's shoulder. Trust me Tayuya, you should be with us. No one is more powerful than Naruto-kun. We are going to fulfill his ambition, which is pretty much similar to one of Orochimaru's plans, Kin said to her. Tayuya raised an eyebrow at Kin's word, but the raven-haired girl continued. We are going to destroy Konoha, Tayuya. We're going to kill every civilian and shinobi in its ranks and watch it burn to the ground. Tayuya, wouldn't you want to watch the fires blaze around Konoha and the streets filled with the blood of many people who died at our hands? It makes my blood boil each time. Well Tayuya, will you join? Kin asked as she extended her hand. Tayuya looked at the hand and back at Kin. She wasn't sure what to do, but Kin seemed so sure of herself and she had no reason to lie to Tayuya, at least not one that she could think of. I still think your way of doing this is seriously up, Kin, but I'd at least like to see what I'm getting myself into before I make my decision, so for now I'll go with you, Tayuya said with a grin. Kin nodded with a smile before the girls turned their heads to see Zabuza and Yagura come from around a corner. Well, looks like we all made it, Yagura said to them. Tayuya tensed, but settled down when Kin placed her hand on Tayuya's shoulder. So what do we do now? Haku asked since everyone knew that the village was in a state of complete alarm right now. Zabuza adopted a thinking pose and turned suddenly smirked. We are going to over them all a proposition. And if they deny, well then we'll just make it so that they don't, Zabuza said before everyone disappeared from view. Naruto and Yugo managed to catch up with Shizune, Kurenai, and Kiba, but since they were quite a ways behind it was already close to nighttime as the five made it to Kurigakure. Naruto recognized the gate guards and told them that he needed to speak to the Mizukage right away. The guards recognizing the person who helped them save Kiri quickly informed Mai Terumi of the visitors though Yugo had on a suspicious look since she wondered about the connection between Naruto and the Mizukage. The team was suddenly allowed an audience with the Mizukage as they were escorted by Ao and Chojuro. Both guards wanted to say something, but Naruto stopped them when he softly pointed to Yugo, which they knew said that she wasn't a part of the group that helped them save Kiri, so the two stayed quiet. Mizukage-sama, the team from Konoha is here, Ao said as he opened the door. Naruto and the others walked to see a large stack of paperwork with Mai massaging her temples. Mai, seeing Naruto's face, wanted to hug him, but stopped when she saw Naruto's eyes moving multiple times to the right. Mai's eyes followed the movement and landed on Yugo. Mai got the message from Naruto and gave a soft nod before placing her hands on the desk. Welcome Konoha, what can I do for you? I was about to send over the treaty for our villages, Mai said to Naruto. The blonde Hanyu knew what she meant and smirked that she was going to go along with what he told her, but gave a bow as did everyone else. Mizukage-sama, we were informed of the treaty, but Hokage-sama wishes to make some changes to it, so he sent us. It was at first only me, Kiba, Shizune, and Kurenai, but we got an Anbu guard for an extra mission for dealing with our borders, so we decided to bring her along, Naruto responded. Mai raised an eyebrow as she wondered what changes Naruto wanted to make to the treaty, but didn't bring them up since she would get her answers when they were alone. Alright Uzumaki-san. I'm sorry for having you come all the way out here. Please rest here from your trip and enjoy Kiri's hospitality. However, I would like to go over these changes with you in private if that's okay, Mai stated. Naruto immediately nodded with a smile and bowed along with everyone else as they turned to leave. Mai sighed and turned back to her paperwork, simply wondering if she could just melt the entire stack into oblivion. Ao and Chojuro brought Naruto's team to a hotel for them to stay in and were offered some deluxe accommodations. It was the same pairings as last time with Naruto, Shizune, and Yugo in one room while Kiba and Kurenai were in the other room. Everyone sat on the beds before Naruto opened a mental link to them. Alright everyone. I'm going to talk to Mai in a few hours. We will probably stay here for 2 days, then we will be on our way. We can't afford to stay here very long. Why not? Isn't it good that we got here? Yes it is, but I know 2 Akatsuki members are here. They aren't looking for me, rather they are probably looking for Yagura. His body was never found, so they're searching for him right now. So we can eliminate 2 Akatsuki members. If I had to think, it might be one named Kakuzu and the other is Hidan. Both are immortal like us, but the difference between them and us is that one uses hearts from different affinities to live and the other is a Jashinist. They kill or sacrifice people to their god, Jashin. Whatever wound they inflict on themselves is sent back to others. You don't really have to worry about that. I don't need those 2 for allies, so you can kill them at your leisure. Why would they be great allies along with the rest of Akatsuki? Well, for one, Hidan a pathetic loser and I simply never liked him. Take away his little ritual and he's a regular human. How he's S rank is beyond me. Kakuzu is simply a stealer. He only took techniques by putting the affinities in hearts. I don't see the difference between him and that damn Tem, so you can handle them. Cool. I might get into the bingo book for this. Alright, well, since Naruto-kun has made plans, let's all go to sleep. I'm sure we will be busy tomorrow, Shizune finished. Everyone cut their connection and their conversation stopped as they all went to bed since tomorrow might just get interesting for them. So we're here to find the body of the 3-tailed Jinchuriki, right? A man with a triple scythe said while having a weird smile on his face. That's right. Let's hurry up. I have another bounty that I want to do, the other said with his coat covering the lower half of his face. You and your damn bounties. This would be blasphemy in the eyes of Jashin-sama. I don't believe in your damn pagan god. Just don't get in my way or I'll kill you. Whatever. Let's just hurry up so I can sacrifice this guy to the great Jashin-sama. Both figures disappeared into the night as they passed Kiri's defenses without so much as a sound or disruption. However, unknown to both, 4 people knew they were in Kiri. All 4 had smirks on their faces as they let the sleep claim them. Yep. Tomorrow would be interesting. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and slightly stretched his body as he turned to see the gray skies of Kirigakure out the window. Naruto smirked and calmly got out of the bed to see Yugo was already gone from hers. He turned his head slightly to see Shizune was still softly sleeping the morning away. Naruto chuckled and gave her a soft kiss before taking a quick shower and getting a change of clothes. "See you later, my demon mate," Naruto said as he closed the door and quickly disappeared to go talk to Mei about their arrangement. As he left, Naruto gave a soft smile while hopping along the rooftops of Kiri since he felt 2 massive chakra sources trying to stay hidden. "Well, looks like things are going to get interesting, my family," Naruto said with a slight demonic chuckle as he continued on without so much as a worry. Yugo, meanwhile, was on top of the building and watched Naruto head to the Kiri mansion. She didn't know why she was up, but the morning air in Kiri felt good to her as her purple hair swayed slightly in the breeze. Since the mission felt diplomatic, Yugo didn't really have to interfere with anything and just decided to go window shopping since Kiri was known for their swords. "Alright, I might as well keep myself busy until Naruto gets back," Yugo said before vanishing in a shunshin. Zabuza, Haku, Kin, Yagura, and Tayuya all exited the wrecked Otogakure mansion only to see a multitude of shinobi in front of the door, all wielding kunai, ready to destroy the invaders at any cost. Tayuya turned to Kin with a worried expression that Oto really would kill her and her friends without a second thought. Yagura narrowed his eyes and walked in front of the group as he held out his staff while deciding to speak to the shinobi. "We could destroy you all right now, but you have a usefulness that piques our master's interest. Drop your weapons and pledge your allegiance to Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze so you will live. Take the offer or die right here and now," Yagura ordered. Zabuza smirked along with Haku and Kin while Tayuya wondered how big the ex-Mizukage of Kiri's balls had to be to say something like that to Oto. Soon a random Oto Jonin rushed at Yagura looking to end the fight and reclaim Orochimaru's order in Oto. "We will never bow to you people. Lord Orochimaru-sama will kill you all after we take you down as prisoners," the man yelled at the Sanbi Jinchuriki. Yagura sighed as the man reached him, but simply sidestepped the man while slamming his staff into the man's skull, crushing it completely as the headless body slumped to the ground and twitched for a few seconds before remaining unmoved. Everyone gasped and looked at the demonic look in all their eyes minus Tayuya, who completely shivered under their ki. "Anyone else wanna be stupid and die a meaningless death?" Yagura asked while a small smile. The people gulped and slowly, one after the other, dropped their kunai and bowed before Yagura and the rest of everyone, making Tayuya gasp. "We pledge our allegiance to Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze-sama. He is our leader and the cage of Oto," everyone said simultaneously while Yagura withdrew his staff and Zabuza sheathed his sword. Haku and Kin put their weapons away while Tayuya just continued to stare at everyone as she walked with the group. "Alright, we conquered Oto rather fast, but it can't be helped. Now then, we should wait for Naruto-kun's orders," Kin stated. Everyone nodded as they turned to the scared civilians who backed away from the supposed officials of their new leader, Naruto. "Alright, let's get to work and clean up this place. Any dead bodies you see, burn them. That's all for now," Zabuza ordered. Almost immediately, people began to work on the destroyed parts of Oto while Zabuza's group disappeared into the distance to go check on something of importance. Shizune, tiredly, opened her eyes to see that Naruto wasn't in the room and sighed as she got up and stretched herself awake. Due to her enhanced hearing, Shizune heard Kiba and Kurenai still sleeping and quietly exited the hotel. She did feel the Akatsuki's presence, but they weren't really her problem right now. Shizune yawned and looked around the room before using her enhanced vision to see off into the distance and smirked as she quickly got dressed and left the hotel in a hurry. It was around that time that Kurenai and Kiba woke up and realized their jobs for today. They had 2 problems to deal with, and it would be so much more fun since they didn't really have anything to do for the mission. "Well, Kiba, are you ready to do your job?" Kurenai asked as she took a minute to look at her Konoha headband and quickly took out a kunai as she made a clean slash across the headband signifying the end of her allegiance to Konoha. The genjutsu mistress then hanged her slashed headband back into a regular one as she stood to her feet. Kiba nodded with a smile while he and Akamaru followed Kurenai outside. Kurenai was still new to her fox features and had some trouble suppressing the demonic chakra, but got it down to an appropriate level before she and Kiba walked randomly through the village, deciding to have some fun before having to fight. Meanwhile, Hidan and Kakuzu easily breached Kiri's walls as they walked through the streets, with both keeping their faces well from the view of others. Both looked over the random civilians before they saw two shinobi walking up to them. They seemed to be Konoha shinobi, while Hidan liked his lips at the raven-haired woman in front of him. She's kinda hot. Her blood will be the perfect sacrifice for Jashin-sama, Hidan said with a slight maniacal smile. Kakuzu sighed and simply took out his book while looking for bounties. Keep your eyes sharp, you religious idiot. We have to find the Sanbi Jinchuriki's body for Pain-sama. I'd rather not face the wrath of a god, if you know what I mean, Kakuzu said while Hidan scoffed at him before turning his gaze back to the streets. The only god I fear is Jashin-sama. Pain is a worthless insect compared to Jashin-sama, Hidan said with an arrogant smile on his face. Kakuzu sighed again as the Konoha shinobi passed the Hidan and Kakuzu. Kurenai looked back and gave a small smile before she and Kiba continued their trek through the village. Kiba smirked, showing his longer than usual canines, and turned to Kurenai. Looks like we have our targets, Kurenai-sensei, Kiba told her. Kurenai easily nodded and the two quickly vanished as they followed the two Akatsuki members at a slow pace. After what seemed like an eternity of trailing, Kiba and Kurenai saw the two enter an isolated field and they seemed to be searching for something, but didn't find it, then simply walked off. Kurenai and Kiba smirked since they found this place to be the best place for a full-scale fight. Before they could move, Hidan and Kakuzu turned their heads and smirked. Come out, you Konoha rats, we already know you're there, Kakuzu yelled out. Kurenai grinned along with Kiba as both exited the trees and hit the ground. Hidan and Kakuzu turned to the two Konoha shinobi and smiled. Well, it seems like we'll get to have some fun on this boring day, Kakuzu said while Hidan slowly took out his scythe. Kurenai narrowed her eyes into a smile and turned to Kiba. Kiba, you're capable of fighting an S-rank missing nin, right? Kurenai asked. Kiba raised an eyebrow, but slowly nodded. Well, if Naruto is anything to go by, then I must say that I have fought an S-rank person before, Kiba said with a soft chuckle. Kurenai nodded, turned to Hidan who still had his smile on his face. Kurenai closed her eyes and unhinged her fox ears as the human ears disappeared and were replaced with the black fox ears. All right then. Kiba, you take the weird one and I'll take the ugly one, Kurenai said while Kiba tapped her shoulder and gave an embarrassed chuckle. Which one's the weird one? Kiba asked as Kurenai shook her head at her fellow Hanyu and decided to help him out. Hidan and Kakuzu watched the interaction and Hidan was getting pissed at the relaxed nature both shinobi were putting up in front of them. They were two S-rank missing nin, damn it. The two should be running scared with their stupid headbands between their legs. Well, Kiba, the weird one is, I don't know. It's hard to compare, Kurenai said as Kiba laughed. Hidan's eyebrow twitched in annoyance as he stepped forward. What the hell are you two laughing at? Don't you know you're going to die right now? You should run now before I slaughter the both of you, Hidan yelled to them. Kakuzu backed up slightly while Hidan was met with an intense gaze from Kurenai's red eyes that made her look hot, well hotter, but made her look like a serious threat, which in all reality she was. Kiba stopped laughing and Kurenai took out a kunai. I don't know how well my taijutsu is, but I hope that Naruto-kun's power gave me a little boost, Kurenai said as she quickly disappeared at an extreme speed and rushed at Hidan while leaving a trail of smoke and a coughing Kiba behind. Hidan frowned and gasped as Kurenai appeared in front of him in an instant before slamming her fist into his face. Hidan was sent flying into the trees, causing a path of destruction to go through them. Kakuzu gasped while Kiba ran at him. Hey, your attention should be on me, Kiba yelled as he threw out a punch and Kakuzu. Judging from his size, Kakuzu speculated he was fighting a genin and sighed. All genin simply wished to rush to their deaths, didn't they? Kakuzu easily caught the punch and countered with a kick to Kiba's upper section, sending the Inuzuka into a tree, causing a dent. Oh, sorry, I thought I should put the genin in his place, Kakuzu said, unbuttoning his jacket slightly to show the rest of his face. Kiba simply stood to his feet while Akamaru approached him with a whimper. Hiba chuckled and cracked his sides, getting rid of the stiffness he felt from the kick. It's all right, Akamaru. I'm all right. I hardly felt that kick, to be honest, Hiba said while Akamaru growled and barked at him. Hiba raised an eyebrow to Akamaru, wondering what was wrong before widening his eyes. You're telling me not to hold back. I should stop playing around and starting getting serious, Hiba said while Akamaru nodded his head eagerly. The Inuzuka boy chuckled, which turned into a full-blown laugh as he patted Akamaru's head. That's right. I guess I should stop playing around. All right then, Hiba said as his chakra flared, startling Kakuzu. Kakuzu narrowed his eyes as Hiba's teeth grew sharper and his nails grew longer. He unhinged his ears while the ki rolled off him. It even made Kakuzu back up half a step before stealing himself through it. Well, it seems I might have more fun with you than I thought, Kakuzu said, discarding his robe to show a gray shirt and gray pants with black tendrils extending from his arms. Hiba raised an eyebrow at the way he looked, but didn't say anything as he charged back at Kakuzu. All right, tentacle man, let's play, Hiba said as he and Akamaru engaged Kakuzu. Meanwhile, Kurenai was standing on a tree branch while watching Hidan get himself out of the dirt. Kurenai had nearly gasped at her strength, but figured she would have the time to marvel it later and decided to deal with the problem in front of her right now. All right, Hidan, show me the power of your cult god, Kurenai said while Hidan gritted his teeth. How dare that bitch take down to his god? What the hell did she know about the greatness that was Jashin-sama? Fine bitch, I'll let your blood spill for Jashin-sama, Hidan said as he appeared behind her and swung his scythe at her. Kurenai grinned and countered with a kunai as the sparks from the metal sprayed everywhere. Kurenai managed to sidestep Hidan and surpass his guard, but widened her eyes when he moved his foot fast and kicked her into the tree. Kurenai smirked that she found it weird to be using her taijutsu rather than her specialty, genjutsu. She wasn't sure why, but she wondered what she could come up with now. Kurenai weaved her hand signs while Hidan laughed. Bitch, no ninjutsu will save you from the wrath of Jashin-sama, Hidan said as he charged at her with his scythe flailing. He neared the genjutsu mistress inch by inch, but she suddenly disappeared while his scythe stuck to a tree. Hidan cursed, but then saw an arm reach out from the tree and grab his scythe, then moaned. Hidan widened his eyes as he saw it was a man he killed long ago. Why did I have to die to a damn occultist? I've done nothing but good in my life, the man moaned as other people's hands came out and they began to crawl out and grab his hand. Hidan gritted his teeth and tried to pull himself free while the arms reached out further. I killed you all. It's for Jashin-sama, your blood is my pleasure. I hold no regrets, Hidan said with a twisted smile, but the souls didn't vanish as they grabbed him and slowly started to drag him into the tree. Hidan saw his scythe disappear and his entire being go into the trees as the souls took him down into the depths of hell. No, I can't die like this. Jashin-sama, Hidan yelled. Kurenai smirked as she took out a kunai and cleanly severed the man's head from his body as everything returned to normal. Megan. Jigoku no Shio Kyoju, demonic illusion. Reaper of hell souls, Kurenai said as Hidan's body fell to the ground. The woman sighed and began to walk away before the headless Hidan opened his eyes and stared at her. It was a damn genjutsu. Damn it. Hey bitch, don't leave me out here. You should know that I can't die, so it doesn't matter what you do. That's how powerful Jashin-sama is, Hidan said as Kurenai turned to him and raised an eyebrow at the headless man. It seemed impossible, but in the shinobi world you learn to expect some things. Jashin-sama. 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 Wow. I've never met an occultist so into his religion. Well, I've never met an occultist at all, but that's beside the point. Kurenai said as she walked over to Hidan's head. Hidan widened his eyes as he saw the demonic look of Kurenai's red eyes. The headless Akatsuki member could only gasp as Kurenai raised her foot over his face. What are you doing? You can't kill me, so there is no point to this, Hidan said to her. Kurenai had an impassive look on her face while she adopted a thinking pose. It might just be the demonic blood or chakra flowing through my veins, but I really want to see your blood right now. And just cause you're immortal, it doesn't mean I can't hear you scream, Kurenai said as she slammed her foot on Hidan's face. Hidan gritted his teeth and resisted the urge to scream out as Kurenai lifted her foot from his face. Looks like I'll have to try harder then, Kurenai said as she slammed her foot back into his face. Slowly, but surely the blood began to seep out from Hidan's face while Kurenai brushed her hair. Well, I don't like to see such a bloody face in my eyes. I love the color red and you're ruining it for me, Kurenai said as she applied as much chakra as she could and smashed Hidan's face into the ground. Kurenai still had an impassive look on her face as the blood stained the ground. Yep, it's definitely the demonic blood running through my veins. Yet it strangely feels good, Kurenai said with a shrug of her shoulders, leaving the battered Hidan in the ground. Kurenai took notice of his scythe and smirked as she took it with her. Kin would love a gift like this, Kurenai said with a small smile as she went to go check on Kiba. Kurenai continued to walk, but stopped and turned around. G. Et. Ba. CK. Here, Hidan said while Kurenai took out a kunai with an explosive tag and simply threw it to the ground. Oh, shut up, Kurenai said as the ground exploded while she walked away for the final time. While Kurenai dealt with Hidan, Kiba was busy defending against Kakuzu's hearts, which had some type of weird black blanket of threads which formed some weird creatures. Each mask had an individual features on its face, but as to the significance, Kiba didn't know yet. However, he was sure he was going to find out, and soon. Nice job, brat. I haven't used these in a long time, Kakuzu as he weaved his hand signs. Kiba raised an eyebrow as one of the masks started to move. Doden. Domu Earth Release. Earth Spear, Kakuzu yelled as his skin became darker from the jutsu. Kiba smirked and ran towards Kakuzu, then began to spin violently. Akuma no Gatsuga, Demonic Fang Piercing Fang, Kiba yelled as he rammed into Kakuzu, which caused the man to wince at the sharp pain that Kiba dealt him. Kiba smirked as he barreled Kakuzu into a mess of trees while the Inuzuka backed away with a smile. How did he injure me? I should be as hard as diamond. What is up with him? Kakuzu wondered as he struggled to stand. I know about that jutsu from the scrolls Naruto had me read back at the compound. I don't think the strongest earth-made substance can stop a demon, or in my cause a half-demon, but a demon nonetheless, Kiba said with his grin splitting his face. Kakuzu narrowed his eyes at the Inuzuka and suddenly smiled. I do believe I underestimated you. It won't happen again, Kakuzu said as he went through another squeeze of hand signs. Raiden. Gion, Lightning Release. False Darkness, Kakuzu yelled. Kiba jumped back as the yellow masked creature shot forward and opened its mouth to short a spear-like lightning bolt at Kiba as the Inuzuka and his dog dodged the lightning left and right. Both landed on a tree, but saw Kakuzu smirk as they jumped out of the way to avoid a wind blast from another mask. Kiba continued to dodge and jumped off the destroyed tree only to see a ball of fire shot at him before Akamaru grabbed his sleeve and allowed him to dodge. Thanks, Akamaru, Kiba said as he received a bark for a response from Akamaru. Their joy didn't last long until Kiba saw the lightning come at him. Kiba gritted his teeth and balled his fist as the mask neared him. Enough! Kiba yelled as he sent the balled-up fist into the mask, destroying it into pieces. Kakuzu gasped before bringing his fire mask next to him and doing more hand signs. Try this one for size. Kaden. Zukoku, Fire Release. Intelligent hard work, Kakuzu yelled as the mask sent a blazing fire at Kiba. Kiba widened his eyes before he unhinged the rest of his features along with his tail. Kiba and Akamaru charged at the intense fire and sought to take it down. Zatai Akuma no Gatsuga, Absolute Demonic Fang Piercing Fang, Kiba yelled as he spiraled into the fire along with Akamaru as the two pushed the fire back and slammed into Kakuzu again, surprising the man until he saw Kurenai behind him ready to continue from where Kiba left off. Kakuzu brought his earth mask around to block her, but it proved useless as Kurenai stabbed the mask with her kunai, splitting the mask apart and destroying it. Kakuzu cursed and backed away from the two Konoha shinobi and smirked. Alright then. Let's get serious, Kakuzu said as the fire mask and wind mask came into his being and had him overgrown with many threads sticking out. Kurenai raised an eyebrow while Kiba hanged his tail, not needing the extra power boost anymore. Alright Kiba. Let's end this now, Kurenai told him. Kiba nodded as the two charged back at the transformed Kakuzu. Shizune was already out of the village and running to where she spotted the figure that she saw from her hotel room and made it to the spot. Shizune looked around, but didn't see anything. However, she knew someone was hiding from her, she just need to know where. Be careful, kitten. This woman is very dangerous. I don't know why, but she reminds of Kyubi for some reason, a figure said to a blonde woman who was behind a tree with a kunai in her hand. She sported a purple attire and wore the Kumo headband as she saw Shizune looking around. I was perfectly hidden. How did she find me? The woman asked. The woman was Yugito ni, Jinchuriki of the Nibi no Nekomata. She had been investigating reports of the alliance between Kiri and Konoha and didn't want to be caught already. She only got suicide missions, so ones like this one were a rare case, which she was damn glad for. Yugito was suddenly brought out of her stupor when the ki from Shizune flared. I know you're here. Come out now or I will find you, and trust me, you will want to come out voluntarily, Shizune yelled. Yugito choked on the ki like it was toxic and already knew that she didn't stand a chance against this woman, so she might as well set aside her pride and got out. Yugito stalled and saw Shizune tapping her foot impatiently. Shizune formed a chakra blade and slashed a tree clean off while Yugito gasped. No way in hell am I going out there. Yugito yelled out mentally as Shizune lifted up 3 fingers. All right then. I'll count to 3 from this, and if you don't come out, well, I'll kill you, Shizune said in the sweetest tone possible, which scared Yugito to no end. Should she go out? Would she live? 1. Shizune counted. Could she fight? Would she win? Would she even live? 2. Shizune continued. Yugito started to shake, and with much encouragement from Nibi, she jumped out and gasped as Shizune just missed Yugito's neck. 3. You made it, Shizune said as Yugito slumped to the floor while holding her chest. You alright, kitten? Nibi asked. Yugito breathed heavily and slowly nodded. Yeah, I just saw my life flash before my eyes, and ya know, Nibi. I was about to die a virgin, Yugito said, causing Nibi to chuckle despite the situation. Alright then, mind telling me who you are and why you're here? I won't hurt you, but not to mention you seem quite strong. It's obvious you're from Kumo with your headband, so I'll also assume you're the Jinchuriki of Nibi, Shizune spoke, making Yugito widen her eyes. How did you know that? Yugito asked as Shizune sat next to her. Well, I assumed, and it looks like I was right. Tell me, is it true that Nibi is a horny biju? Shizune asked. Yugito nearly scoffed as she went on about Nibi and her trying to get Yugito to do certain things for the next hour or so. Unknown to her, the ki was gone and she was talking to Shizune like the two were really close friends. Hey, I wasn't that bad, kitten. Course I'd like to have a man inside me right now. The feeling of pure ecstasy in my. Enough. Yugito yelled, startling Shizune. Yugito blushed and excused herself before settling down. So you're Shizune-san. You're here to end an alliance of Konoha with Kiri. Oh, well, I guess I can go back now, Yugito said, getting up, but was stopped by Shizune. Hey Yugito, how would you and Nibi like to met one kami of a man that here? Trust me, you'll find no one better than him, Shizune said with a small smile. Nibi was already interested while Yugito blushed and was about to refuse, but was stopped by Nibi. Come on, kitten. Just one look won't hurt. If we don't like him, we'll leave, but first let's see this kami of a man that Shizune is talking about. I already see myself drooling right now. Please accept it, kitten, Nibi said, which was more of a plead than a suggestion. Yugito sighed and nodded, with Shizune leading the Kumo nin to Kiri to meet her blonde Hanyu. Naruto and Mei had just finished their negotiations about the alliance, and Naruto simply told Mei to ally herself with a clan, or more specifically, the Uzumaki Namikaze clan. Naruto would be the corresponder between the clan and Kiri. Mei wondered about Konoha, but Naruto told her that Konoha couldn't keep up with him even if they wanted to. Mei seemed to trust his word and nodded with Naruto's plan. So Naruto-kun, when are you going to give me some alone time? Mei asked Naruto with a sultry smile. Naruto blushed, then chuckled as he placed his elbows on Mei's desk. Do you really think Kiri would like that? Its Mizukage would want to go at it like that so fast? And in her office no less. Naruto asked as Mei shrugged her shoulders. I might be the Mizukage, but I am a woman also, Naruto-kun, Mei said as Naruto got up and walked behind Mei. Well, I think I should get to know Mei Terumi, the woman, before I try anything and end up hurting her, Naruto said, giving the auburn-haired woman a soft shoulder rub, making the Mizukage moan slightly. I'll say you give a soft massage. You're much closer to knowing the real Mei Terumi if you keep this up, Naruto-kun, Mei said before Naruto stopped the rub. Mei turned to him in slight annoyance. What? Don't you know Mei-chan the phrase, always leave them wanting more? Naruto asked before leaving the room. Mei slightly blushed, but chuckled as she turned back to the thing she just wished she could melt away, paperwork. Meanwhile, Kurenai and Kiba were still fighting Kakuzu and were simply tired of playing now. They didn't really have anything better to do, but this was getting boring for both. Alright, let's end it here. Kurenai-sensei, can you use chakra strings? Kiba asked her. Kurenai nodded and told him she could only hold it for 10 minutes, which was all Kiba needed. Kurenai attached the strings to Kiba as the Inuzuka ran at Kakuzu. Burned to ashes, Kakuzu said as he combined his wind armor and his fire armor into a fierce fire attack. Kurenai moved quickly and raised Kiba into the air and moved out of the range of fire. Kakuzu sent his tendrils at Kiba as Kurenai maneuvered the Inuzuka left and right before bringing her hands down as Kiba and Akamaru spun violently into Kakuzu. Take this. Akuma no Jikofuga, demonic hell-piercing fang, Kiba yelled as he and Akamaru slammed into Kakuzu while sending him into the ground while still spinning, intent on ripping him to shreds. Kurenai covered her eyes until the intense drilling settled down and Kurenai opened her eyes to see a steamy hole in the ground. Kurenai looked down to see Kiba and Akamaru waving at her as they stood over Kakuzu, who seemed to be much worse for wear. Both climbed out of the hole and walked back to Kiri while Kiba turned to Kurenai. So what happened to Hidan? Kiba asked her. Kurenai smirked and turned to Kiba with a wide grin across her face. The matter has been resolved, Kiba, Kurenai simply said to him. Kiba raised an eyebrow at her and turned his gaze to her, wondering what she meant. Kurenai-sensei, what does that mean? Kiba stopped as Kurenai turned to him with a sweet smile and an Oni mask appeared behind her, effectively silencing Kiba. The matter has been resolved, Kiba, Kurenai said while Kiba nodded immediately as Kurenai giggled while the two walked back to Kiri. Sasuke, Sakura, and Kimimaro were close to Oto and only had a few minutes before they would arrive to the village, not knowing what had already happened. Alright, when we get to Oto, you two are to wait in the mansion for Orochimaru-sama, Kimimaro said before he saw small fires blazing around Oto. He widened his eyes and saw some of the people working to put the fires out as Sasuke and Sakura gasped at the minor destruction. Kimimaro narrowed his eyes as he saw Zabuza, Haku, and Kin walking through like they owned the place, which they did. How is Konoha here? Why did they invade Oto? Where are the others? Something's wrong. Right now I need to find Orochimaru-sama and Kabuto-san so I can tell them what's happened. Right now, I'll take these two to a hidden hideout, Kimimaro thought before turning to Sasuke and Sakura. We need to leave. I'll take you both to Orochimaru-sama's hideout where you will receive your training. It will be tough, so don't expect anything to be easy. Let's go, Kimimaro ordered. Sasuke and Sakura nodded as the three disappeared from view. Soon after they left, Yagura appeared with a smile and sunshine next to Zabuza. They're going to another hideout, but we managed to secure Oto. So do we stay here or do we go home? Yagura asked. Zabuza adopted a thinking pose before turning to Yagura. Haku, Kin, and I are Konoha shinobi, however you are an unregistered civilian. You should stay here with Tayuya while we go back and inform the others, Zabuza responded. Yagura nodded as he saw the three disappear, leaving him with Tayuya. So what now, shithead? Tayuya asked as Yagura sighed. It was going to be a long waiting period with the foul-mouthed Kunoichi. Yugo was still shopping, but didn't do anything until she saw Shizune along with Kumo shinobi. Yugo raised an eyebrow at her, but didn't say anything until Shizune came up to her. Hey Yugo, meet Yugito, the Jinchuriki of the Nibi no Nekomata, Shizune said as Yugito and Yugo exchanged hellos. So what's Kumo doing in Kiri? Yugo asked. Turns out they just wanted to be sure we weren't forming an alliance to Kiri, but I assured her it wasn't possible. We also talked for a bit, and before you know it, I'm going to take her to Miyakami among men, Shizune said while Yugito wondered who Shizune was talking about. Yugo wondered also, but it didn't hold until she saw Kurenai and Kiba off in the distance. Hey guys, did you have fun? Shizune asked. Kiba chuckled along with Kurenai as both nodded and all went back to the hotel room to wait for Naruto to arrive. They only had one more day left in Kiri and it was going to all be about relaxing at least until they had to leave. The group walked away as they all disappeared into a crowd of civilians. Somewhere else, Seven Shadowed appeared on top of the hands as they gathered together. How goes the search for the Nanabi? Pain asked. Deidara shook his head along with Sasori in a negative. We're not sure, Pain-sama. The Nanabi just disappeared. We don't know where the host is, and according to the latest from Kakuzu and Hidan, the body of the Sanbi is nowhere to be found either, Sasori stated while Pain remained stoic though was struggling internally. Itachi turned to him with his Sharingan blazing while looking at Pain. Should we try to capture the Kyuubi Jinchuriki again? Itachi asked, still thinking over Naruto's words from the first time that they met, along with Kisame, who rubbed his newly recovered mark across his chest while he scowled at the thought of what Naruto had done to him. Pain shook his head in a negative fashion. No, don't go after him. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki is too dangerous to face. Itachi, you and Kisame are one of our best. We can't afford to lose you two. For now we will go after the Yonbi and the Gobi. Then 2 years we will wait for the preparations to be completed and then we will begin our fight. Konan, I want you to keep an eye on the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and update us on any of his movements, Pain ordered. Konan nodded fast with an inaudible sigh. Everyone else nodded and started to disappear, leaving only him, Konan, and Madara, who was behind him. Based on his record from the Genin exams, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki shouldn't be this strong, Konan stated while Pain gave her an impassive look. Yet the boy is a Jonin-level shinobi. I don't know how, but he's gaining power and fast. It will take a real force to stop him. One that I will handle myself. Konan, you will accompany me in time, but no matter how strong he is, no one can defeat God, Pain said while Konan nodded until they both heard Madara's voice. Nonetheless, don't underestimate him, Nagato. Underestimating your opponent and being overconfident are two totally different things, Madara said, which caused Nagato to nod as the three disappeared from view. Itachi and Kisame continued to walk through a forested area as Itachi picked up the pace in his walking, which made Kisame strut slightly. The fish man was confused as to why Itachi was moving so fast before walking in step with Itachi again. Itachi, why are you in such a rush? We have to head to Iwa to go after the Gobi and Yonbi, Kisame stated while Itachi turned a glance to him, making the tailless Biju flinch under his gaze. I know that, Kisame. We will do that, but I want to find the Kyuubi Jinchuriki first. There is something I want to talk with him about. Naruto Uzumaki. I can only wonder just how strong he truly is, Itachi said, which made Kisame raise an eyebrow at his partner. What do you mean, Itachi? He's just a Jonin-level Gaki. You've fought against plenty of Jonin and won without so much as a scratch on you, Kisame stated with almost a hint of pride in his speak. Itachi muttered something underneath his breath that Kisame didn't catch before turning to the shark man. Kisame, don't tell me you didn't feel it. True, he masked his power, but if you felt it then you would know he could kill us if he wanted. He simply didn't choose to. That's why I need to meet him, and right now, Itachi said as he walked a little faster. Kisame's confusion was raised, but he didn't say anything before the two vanished from sight. Meanwhile, inside Konoha's high-security prison lay Danzo Shimura, who was calmly mediating while he calmly opened his eye and walked up to the jail that was keeping him prisoner. Danzo laid his hand on the seal, which alerted a Jonin to the position. The Jonin came and looked inside to see Danzo was gone and panicked as he opened the jail cell. What the? Where's Danzo? The man wondered, but didn't look up before Danzo struck him in the back, knocking the man out with his walking stick. Danzo left the prison and smirked. Time to catch up on all the things I missed. Kyuubi brat, you'll pay for sending me to this filthy prison, Danzo said as he unfurled the bandages on his left eye, revealing the Sharingan as he walked through the prison while looking for a way out. Be ready, Sarutobi. Your reign as Cage is over and it's time for a new person to take over, and I'm just the man to do it, Danzo said with a dark grin.